What's up, guys? You like our content? You hate our content? You want to interact with us? You want to tell us what you really think? You want to support us? You want to detract from us? Do we enrage you? Do you love us? Join us over on Patreon. $5. Join our Patreon. Become a member. We do member-only videos on Patreon, and we build those videos off your questions and answers. We'll read anything you put almost. Even if it's against us, if you disagree with us, we can have a real conversation. We can have a hateful conversation. Patreon. SOE Tacticalgear.com. All these clips you watch come from our YouTube. We do a 90-minute to 2-hour podcast on YouTube once a week. You can join that member group there for between $5 and $15 range, and you can interact with us, and you see all of these video clips. You see full-length content within 2 days of us making it, so it comes up as current events. If you don't want to join, that's okay. These videos come out free to the public on the SOE Tactical YouTube page. I also do a live every night at 9 o'clock on YouTube, and we can discuss anything you guys want to talk about. What's up?
What's up, John?
Let's do this first. What's up, guys? Compound Coalition. And I'm sitting, what do you do?
I am on a marketing company, a merch company, and a knife store.
A merch company and a knife store.
Yep.
What's the name of the knife store?
Ridge Runner Blades.
What's your name?
Jason Barr.
Jason Barr.
Yep.
Ridge Runner Blades.
Hailing from North Carolina.
Did you name that company?
I'd help name it, actually. Yeah.
Ridge Runner. So is it from like Blue Ridge Mountains or somewhere?
Yeah. So Ridge Runner, it's a, that's a term for a guy that runs moonshine.
Okay.
So in the North Carolina mountains.
All right.
So I'm from where, like, NASCAR started. It's just a big, big deal.
Do you have a NASCAR?
I grew up with my grandpa, watching it. And, I love it. I don't watch it anymore. Just like sports, it's just...
Do you have like a prohibition car or something? Are you running illegal milk?
I used to, actually, I grew up around the guy, the old show Dukes of Hazzard?
Yes.
So that guy, my dad was really good friends with him growing up. He taught me how to make a steel when I was like 11 years old.
Really?
So the Dukes of Hazzard was like his life story.
Like the real guy or the
Yeah.
TV show?
No, the real guy.
So I guess I never knew until right now that was based off a real dude.
It was absolutely. They actually, he had a big like compound out where I live, and they didn't. When they made that movie, the Dukes of Hazzard movie, they didn't ask his permission or anything to make that, and he ended up suing them. Just let him make it.
So was it Bo and Luke Duke? Is that?
Bo and Luke, but he was actually the old car salesman on the show, because
Okay.
it was his life story.
Got it.
He was a real deal mountain man.
So what do you do now?
So me and my wife, we have a marketing company. We've been in business for 15 years. And then, I just recently bought Ridge Runner the first of the year. So
which one are you doing more of?
man, it's hard, right now I'm probably more in Ridge Runner just because it's, fresh, and I'm having to really, really pump a lot into it.
You have to make it work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that detracting from your marketing company?
No, I think it's forced me to hire more people.
Okay.
So I needed to do that anyway. And so we're really trying to, I thought maybe the marketing company might, maybe come down a little bit and I'd focus more, but people get, just all these big projects. I was having to hire people to do it.
Do you find that difficult hiring people?
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially in the creative industry. It's super, I find that really difficult.
Do you find that you get your money out of that? Or?
That's the tough part, with creative people, it's hard to harness them in a direction a lot of times. And
yeah, in theory, when you bring on people and you pay them, payroll, salary, whatever, you should see a much greater
exactly
amount, a dollar amount in the bank.
Yep.
And a lot of times it doesn't.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll swell at first,
Yeah.
and then it actually comes down because of that payroll. You're actually so.
I have a really good group of my team is right now is freelancers that are just friends of mine, and that's working pretty good. Like because it's kind of like piecework. Like
So you pay on per project.
Yeah, and that seems to work pretty good.
Are they all in house?
They are all right around me. Yeah. And,
Cool.
I hired a video editor, I guess about 2 years ago, and that's the best thing I ever did.
What length videos are you guys doing?
So we do everything from shorts to documentaries. So we usually have two 2 good documentary projects a year.
What does a documentary project look like? What's the finished product?
It's usually it's on the shorter side of what would be considered a documentary, usually 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
We do work for everything from dentists to farms to government work.
How do they find you?
You know, usually they see a project that we've done and find us that way.
Cool.
We've been in business so long in that area that we know pretty much everybody.
So what do you think? What's the definition of marketing?
I find it's just telling people's story for me. Like being able to take somebody's story and putting a voice to it. A lot of people are just not their best. They can't tell their story the best, so my job is to really help them structure that in a way that's palatable and inspiring for others.
So having been here and knowing a little bit about me, what would you recommend that I do if I came to you and said, hey, I want to do this, I don't know what to do, what should I do?
I mean, what you're doing right now is fantastic. I mean, you're blowing up. It's just YouTube, your YouTube channel is fantastic.
That's him.
Yeah.
That's him and Brandel. But he's the
super
one
good.
cutting all my shorts and everything.
It's great. I mean, you take, and
I don't say that because his videos. I say it's the shorts that are driving the massive amount of traffic.
That's what I'm finding across the board. It depends on who you're marketing to. Instagram, if you're trying to market to younger, millennials or below, or TikTok. I hate TikToks. It can be a little finicky.
I think you need to use it, though.
You have to use it.
You're about to have them pull, for instance, Shopify, right?
Yeah.
We run everything through Shopify. But by the end of the month, I have to allow all of my products to be able to embed that click-through link into Instagram.
Really?
You have to use Instagram's platform for checkout. You have to use Meta. Mm-hmm. We were using that, but there was a bunch of kind of some bullshit with that. So we cut that off and did those click-through links. Mm-hmm. But in order to embed those links into Facebook and Instagram, you have to do that through them. So now they're going to take a percentage of that also.
Right.
Whereas somebody was telling me yesterday, like, hey, man, do TikTok shops. My buddy in there, bodybuilder, and he's got a friend that owns a big nutrition company. And he said, man, we're doing more click-through revenue on the TikTok shop than we are through our actual URL.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see what he's doing. We can find out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Instagram, that's a whole new thing with the whole embedded shop thing. Evan's using it. Ready Made Easy.
On Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been around for 6-7 years probably.
The integration's a little weird still. Like getting the orders, like it's not integrating very well with other systems yet. I'm sure it'll get there, but
well, right now they click it and it takes them to Shopify, right?
Yep.
It looks like it's on there, but it's actually Shopify. But there's a lot of items that they won't take.
Yeah.
With no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
Just this thing doesn't meet community guidelines, and they have removed the
no
review.
Reason.
There's no review.
And I'm seeing that a lot in the knife world. Like anything that's slightly controversial, you have to be. I like to use the biblical term "wise as serpents." Mm-hmm. You have to be very, very careful and just, I've done marketing for gun stores and stuff like that in the past, and I'll tell you what, man, one little slip up can cost you, especially on Facebook, can cost you months, and it's hard. It really is. So
I don't know much about like click through on like doing funnel. I've never run a funnel of any kind. I hear funnels. Yeah. I kind of know what a funnel is.
I think I hate that term.
But I've never run like any paid promotions on Facebook. Like we used to boost posts.
Yeah.
But then it stopped working. It just doesn't work like it used to. So I haven't done any paid push or marketing or boost or any of that stuff.
You don't have to.
In 5 years probably.
The people that I think should be heavy on ads are people that won't put the effort into organic content. Organic content is always going to win. It might be a slower ramp, but it will always win. Ads are such a short-lived, and I honestly think too it kind of hurts your accounts as well. I don't have proof of that, but it seems like once they get money from you, they always want money from you. And so I don't know if that's true. It's just
man, I have a hard time converting a personal account to a business account just because they make you use such lame music. Like, when you guys run anything, for instance, on Instagram, and you have music in the background, or Luke, for instance, where's the music coming from?
So I think Luke's actually using my account as well, but I use a company called Soundstripe.
Okay.
Not paid.
What do we use?
Epidemic.
Yeah,
Epidemic's awesome. Yeah.
But how do I get it onto the video?
So you have to pull the file and upload it. So I always edit my videos in Premiere, so I'm editing on my computer typically, and so that's where I just pull the music go ahead and dump it in there.
Like I just have these guys do it on the
Yeah. Now I will
in the
say,
program.
sometimes using a popular song will be catchy, because anything that Instagram allows you to use, sometimes that works really good.
Right, because it pushes it in the algorithm of the people who watch that music
exactly.
or watch the video with the music.
But if it's something that just don't fit, I don't use it. I like to have theme songs,
We had our own music made, but I
How
literally
do you do that? Are you just paying people to do it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because usually, I'll be honest with you, most of the time when people do that, it's cheesy, but your stuff is awesome.
Well, we're using like real people.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
It's not
for
AI
instance,
generated.
so I don't know if this is supposed to, like David Ray, for instance, the song we played at the intro, that's Eye for an Eye.
That's awesome.
That dude has written all the songs for Jelly Roll.
That's awesome.
Like he's on that team.
That's awesome.
And then John Connor, Eye for an Eye. That's Warhorse Records. He's putting out huge albums. Both them dudes. And then Tessa, she came here and she's like, I'm a female rapper. I'm like, I fucking love female rap. Like, let's hear it. And then she did Billy Bonds. And then Chris Lyric Supreme, he's on tour right now with Little White.
That's awesome.
So I'm just super
You're actually
lucky.
using real people.
Yeah, I'm just super lucky that we had access to, like, and they came to the parties. David Ray and John Connor were standing. We were up in top because the music is so loud in the garage when we had the bands in. We're up behind the glass wall. Yeah. And I talked to these dudes for probably 2 or 3 hours. I'm like, who are you guys? Like, what are you doing here at this party? And they're like, oh, we're just supporting Mike out there, Forsaken. And, he uses our studio and we produce some of it. I'm like, no shit.
That's awesome.
Like, they've got SOE tattoos on them and like just solid. They, believe in the same things we believe in. So I'm like, man, anything you're doing, we can do. So that they put our merchandise in Jelly Roll's videos, and it's just
awesome.
They've just been super cool to us, and they invited us to the studio. So we come out there when they've got artists there, and we just sit and watch how the process works.
Yeah. I was part owner of a guitar company for several years.
I remember hearing that.
Elliott Guitars out of North Carolina, and we built. I mean, they're still going great. But we built guitars for, signature guitars for Sheryl Crow's guitar player, Switchfoot out of California, out from where you're from. They're built guitars for, all these big bands. It was really cool. And one thing I found out, and you probably found this out too, is just if you treat them like normal people, they'll hang out and talk forever.
Right. Well,
like
they'll
when you
come.
start fangirling.
We had the guys from 3 Doors Down were in here for one of the parties, and we're sitting and talking. And like, I didn't know they were 3 Doors Down until we walked. They're like, those guys. You know who that is? I'm like, I have no idea who that is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How have you found you're super connected?
Like, no, I'm not, man.
You are. Man.
I don't think I am. I think that
you are. But you know a lot of people.
I'm connected in very small circles.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not that I was able to walk into places. It's that I did so much hateful shit on Facebook, which I believed in. I still stand by everything I said. But when we would go to Blade Show and places, guys were like, hey, man, and they were like really big name dudes that I never would have had access to. And I would stop and talk, or we would just be past each other in the mall or the hotel. And we just had conversations. And then as far as like the knife industry, Jade Marsh, who was with Starling Gear, and then he was at American Tomahawk. He was at RMJ, not American Tomahawk, RMJ. I knew him growing up. Yeah, like when he was a cop. Probably more like the Shield than normal beat cop, but just growing up day one, like those guys hung out in the shop in Oceanside a lot. Yeah. And then we had friends that went to work for Surefire. So when John Matthews came back into the company, because he retired, came back in to run the company, he wanted machine guns in California. Yeah. So he set up Surefire Training Institute in order to be able, the only reason was to be able to have machine guns. Suppressors were never on the radar. Yeah. And those guys were all friends. They just hung out there. And then Scully is the big one. He sits in that chair every week. And him being an SOTG, people just have no idea. Every elite unit in the world came through for a SEAL team to be able to deploy, to be deployable. They had to go through SOTG. But guys were coming in from the other countries, and then the vendors were coming in, and all the manufacturers. So we just had access. Like, I know those guys from, like, my company's older than a lot of those companies that are out there. And it's not that they've definitely done it way better. They do business better than I do business. I just had staying power. Yeah. I was just too dumb to quit when I should have quit, probably.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what makes it. I mean, your story's amazing. I love listening to it. And I think that's probably one of the most inspiring things probably about you. It's just your grit. Like you just don't quit.
I just don't. And I think it's that I just don't care.
Yeah. But how do you, like, I've known quite a few people that's had maybe similar stories to yours, but they walk out of those situations with a victim mentality, or, they just.
Well, they were victims to begin with.
They were victims to begin
with. Most of those people that had something successful, they were either lucky or it was handed to them.
Yeah.
They never had to build it from, like, when we go back, like, I hear Frisella's story about sleeping on the piss-stained mattress, right? I'm like, we did that.
Yeah.
We got a mattress out of the back alley. Before that, it was a stack. It was 4 isomats and some cardboard boxes. Yeah. I slept on that motherfucker for 90 days.
Really?
There wasn't any running water in the shop. Like, when I pulled up there, I ran out of gas, and gas never went back into that Blazer for 3 months. I literally didn't leave the shop for 3 months.
Yeah. Wow. Now, is this the second run at the?
No, this was the first time. This was in Oceanside.
Good gosh.
Yeah.
Did you grow up there?
No, I grew up in Tierra Santa.
Okay.
Mid class. Like, we didn't know. Nowadays, you'd look at that area, we probably think we're definitely poor compared to how we were, but we were middle class. Like, Mom worked her ass off. Mom worked at General Dynamics. My dad retired as a commander out of the Navy. Like, he's a psychologist, did clinical psychology with death row inmates. He worked at at Balboa Hospital. Like, he was combat corpsman deployed with 1st Marine Division in Vietnam. So, like, we did okay.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't, like, we weren't handed things. We'd get a video game system every other Christmas.
Yeah.
I had a bicycle, shit like that. Had my first job at 13 and a half. My grandfather got me a job working at McDonald's. I took and switched 2 buses, rode 90 minutes to get to work. Hated McDonald's. And then this dude moved in the top of the street. His name was Jeff. He had a wolf dog, and the dog would always get out. I didn't know whose dog it was, but I captured the dog. And that's how I met Jeff, because he came looking for his wolf that I had basically stolen. Yeah. And he's like, hey, you want to come up here? Because he saw some snakes in the garage. And he had big, huge pythons. He had the corner lot that everybody was scared to go the long driveway. He actually lived in the same house model that we lived in. But he probably had an acre, which is like huge for Tierra Santa. And he had a fucking pig in the backyard. And he was always doing some shit. Like, he had primacord and had fucking deaded some trees. And like 4 trees fall over at the same time and blew windows out in people's houses and shit. So the sheriff's up there. And everybody had a story about this dude. So he's like, you want a job? So I'm like, yeah. And he takes me, he gives me these Mexican, I thought I'm working with Jeff, like the cool dude. He gives me with some Mexican dudes they were cool, man. And they dropped me off at, just in the middle, down by the border, like beneath, it's really expensive houses now, palm trees and waterfalls and shit. But they would drop me off with a wheelbarrow, a pickaxe, and a sledgehammer, and go, okay, break this up. And that was all they gave you.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. You didn't know how to break it up. You didn't know what you're doing. So it was always a fight in your head whether I'm going to break up the concrete smaller so that I don't have to pick up the heavier pieces, or do I not want to swing the sledgehammer as much and pickaxe out bigger pieces. So I'd bust out 20 by 10s, patios of concrete and roll them on a wheelbarrow around front through the landscaping on a 2x6, trying to balance this thing. So I did that for a couple of years. So I knew what hard work was. Yeah. And then when I got, there was a dude that was doing ponds that Jeff was subcontracting with. Lee was his name, and he was a huge reptile guy. And we were talking snakes, and I knew everything. Yeah. And I knew enough that it got his attention. He's like, "Hey, come check this out." So I was on one of his jobs, and then they gave me a job working for a company called Pond Doctor, and they had a formulation for this koi fish, and they were working in a huge warehouse by SeaWorld, and he was like the koi dude.
Really? And
that led to going and working in the Hyatt Regency, and I had the account to do the pond maintenance. So I'm climbing these 3-story waterfalls in these San Diego hotels, ripping down algae and getting to talk to parrots and, do the fish thing. But I've done work that I knew what labor was. Yeah. Like, I was the kid working decorative brick, block, and masonry for Jeff's company. They would do all the bullnose tile and shit. I was the kid with the muriatic acid and the gloves. They give you a new pair of gloves every Monday, which only worked for a day or two because you get the grit in there and you inevitably got the acid coming through. By day 3, you have holes in the gloves and you don't get a new pair of gloves until Monday. So I knew what that was. I don't think there's no calluses, and I really took something Bear said a couple of years ago. He's like, there's nobody's pressure tested.
That's right.
And Jeff says all the time, people are comfortable.
That's right.
You'll never have a revolution. You'll never have a revolt. You'll never have people fix the wrong. Well, they'll just talk about it because they've never had no power. They've never had no water. They don't have any calluses. And as Bear said, they've never been pressure tested. They've never done difficult things in difficult situations. And they've definitely never done it with people they don't know.
Yeah. And that's, when you have that many, we've got this many people that have their school, their whole, their
whole belief system, it becomes their identity. So it's indoctrination.
If they go through high school, they don't work a job all through high school.
Yeah.
So then they go 4 years of college, maybe 8 years of college, and they get out. They have no concept that they actually have to work to make money.
Yeah, you have a 30-year-old that's never had a real job, that is trained for some job that no longer exists in the market as it was.
Yep.
And in many times, there's not even a need for it any longer. And they've been indoctrinated into this belief system that's because their victimness is their identity.
Yep.
How many guys do you hear talking about like PTSD, right? We know definitely it's real.
a real thing.
It's a real thing. But there's a lot of fucking people talking PTSD who have not had anything traumatic happen. Mm-hmm. It's that, like, there are YouTube channels right now on how to go in the military and spend 4 years, and they educate you on how to figure out your ailment in order to get 100% disability. Yep. There was a dude I was listening to. He was on Sean Ryan's show a couple weeks ago, and he was a clinical psychologist, worked for the VA for 7 years, and he said, we had all these guys coming in that we were paying 100% disability and all these ailments and all these PTSD and stuff, and we took a group of 100 Vietnam veterans, and he said through Freedom of Information Act we ran their DD-214s, and none of them, out of these 100, none of these guys were what they said they were. They were not. Now, of course, with the whole stolen valor thing, they know going in. That's all part of that system. But these dudes weren't. Yeah. I remember after Rambo driving around, my father would have us on the weekends and we'd go downtown San Diego. And looking back at it, we'd go to like thrift stores and bookstores. And even back then, those these were in the lobby of big skyscraper buildings. Those buildings were abandoned looking back at it. Those big, huge bank buildings, it's a weird point in my head. But you would see bums, right? You see transients. And they always have the M65 field coat. Sure. But there was no war, right? So as a child, I assumed those were Vietnam veterans like my father. And I said, why are they letting that guy be on the street? What's his problem? And he said, some of them have real problems. Yeah. Most of them were going to be on the street whether they went into the military or not. They were predisposed to it. And as Jeff says, not all of them. Most of those guys were fucked up in the military too. Yeah. They were the burning shit guys. Yeah. They were in a unit, but when they went outside of base, those guys did not go outside of base. Now that's not all of them. Yeah. And the reason I even have this in my head is I know guys missing multiple limbs. Yeah. I know guys that have been blown up in 3 separate different incidences on 3 separate different deployments, like blown the fuck up and goes back and deploys. Yep. And I'm sure those dudes have problems. They're still operational and they're still functional. Look at all these dudes running business. Look at Jocko and those guys, right? The Ramadi guys. We built gear for those guys, for those kids when they were kids, younger than me, out of my mom's garage for the Ramadi. I have 2 friends that work for Echelon Front right now. And they saw the worst of the worst shit, Ramadi.
And they're killing it. It didn't hold them back.
It didn't hold them back. They used that, man. And maybe that's it, right? Maybe that is what keeps them sane. Yeah.
Well, isn't it like anything in life? So you have something negative happen. The only thing that separates you from not is your response.
You're absolutely right.
How you respond to anything that happens in your life, whether it be positive or negative, dictates the next season of your life.
For real, yeah.
I mean, if you have something bad happen, you have to respond to that correctly. It's just the way it is. You can't just shrink up. You can't.
It's not. I don't know that it's even respond correctly. You just have to respond.
You have to do something.
Like Spirko, he's like, when you're not sure what to do, always do something, because most people do nothing, and you have a 50% chance that it's right. At least you're the guy trying.
It's so true.
It is.
It's so true. It's like when you have the veterans. I had my whole family was in World War II. All of them fought. All of my family fought in the Civil War. I read back my great-great-grandfather. They all fought for the South, and one of them, he went to war. He got shot. He come home. He went back. He had his leg blown off by a cannonball. Come back, got healed up, and went back and like was just working medical tent. He wouldn't stop. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what you can't stop.
Because he would have died if he stopped.
Is there ever been a point in your life where you've gotten kind of comfortable?
I'm comfortable now.
Does that not make you nervous?
Yeah, I'm super comfortable. And I didn't know it, right?
Yeah.
Just that cruise.
Yeah.
Just buying toys and just doing your thing. But you stop the hustle. Yeah. Yeah, it's because comfort breeds complacency.
I have this, he's kind of like my dad. He's a mentor to me.
You're lucky to have him.
I'm more than you know. But he told me something one time I've never forgotten. He said, if you're ever coasting, you're going downhill.
Yeah.
You don't coast up.
Yeah, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah. And so every time I get comfort, like there's no change happening, I get really nervous.
So I went and met with a tax lawyer and then an accountant and a bookkeeper, right? And they said, what's your zero? Like, what's your comfort level? I go, I don't understand what you're saying. And they're like, well, when you get to a level in your bank account, like where do you start to panic?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you're going to love me. Like my bank account's at zero all the time, but I have the ability to make money.
Yeah.
And I remember my friend Matt Chartel, he said, $10,000 is my zero. And I said, what do you mean? And this was when I had come home from prison and I was just starting over. And he's like, well, $10,000 is in my bank account, but I pretend that it's zero. If I have $10,000, I can't spend any money. I have no money. Right. I don't have money to pay bills with 10 grand. That's that buffer. And nowadays, like it's come onto my radar a couple of years ago that the average U.S. citizen has less than $1,000 in their bank account.
I believe that.
Like it's absolutely insane. Like I looked at the numbers, I looked at the studies. I've heard many people that I look up to say that like Rogan, for instance. Yeah. So I assume that there are fact checkers and that information is probably pretty reliable. And I've said it many times. Like I've had conversations with my employees. Hey, how much? Like you don't have to tell me what the number is. But do you have $1,000 in your bank account on any given day? And they don't. And why do you not, right? Yeah. Everybody wants to have the prepping conversation, and it's always the AR-15 or I need this. I'm like, how many guns do you have? Yeah. How much fucking water do you have? Yep. But the real thing is, like, if your car got smashed by a tree or something, that's an act of God. Your insurance oftentimes won't pay for that, or a meteor, satellite, whatever. Could you replace the car today if you had to?
Exactly.
Like we had a car broke down on the way to Kentucky for Blade Show. We went and bought another fucking car. Like, only, like, what do you do? Yeah. Like, can you handle those things? Yeah. And the truth is, everybody can. Yep. Everybody has something in common that's 24 hours in a day. What sets you apart is what you do with the 24 hours.
Exactly.
And it's baffling when guys who I've been around, I watch all your content, and they know things about me, and they quote me in this video, like Star Trek guys. Yep. They know everything, but they're like, how do I get started? How do you get motivated? I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? How do you get motivated?
Get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Do something.
Set a fucking alarm.
Yeah. If you have time to play video games,
Don't time to play video games.
You know what I'm saying? Like
you shouldn't have a fucking video game.
Exactly. But that's just the thing. We've got this whole society has gotten conditioned to this 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job. And they feel like they feel like anything over 40 hours a week is oh my God.
Well, we programmed with kids with this word, right? And it's really fucked them up, and it's balance. Balance. I never had balance. Meant I could stand on this side and you could stand, or I could walk down a tightrope. Balance was never used in the manner until recently. Or it wasn't on my radar until a few years ago, right? Balance doesn't exist. And it's like Schwarzenegger. They're like, I don't have time. I don't have time. I love it when a motherfucker tells me they don't have time. I'm like, let me follow you around for a minute, and I can find you some. I tell my wife that I didn't have time. I go, don't tell me you didn't. Tell me it wasn't important enough. Tell me you haven't done it yet. Do not tell me you didn't have time. You have most people at work for 8 hours. They don't work 8 hours. They are present for 8 hours. They sleep for 8 hours. That leaves you another 8 hours. That's a second full-time job. Like, I don't understand. As a child, I worked all the time, or I played all the time. And when it was time, I stayed up because I wanted to do more stuff. I never wanted to go to sleep. But when I went to sleep, I slept quickly. Yeah. And because I was excited. Do you remember being a child, how excited you were to get up and see what Santa brought you?
Exactly.
Or I would just start thinking weeks ahead of time because I'm going to go to my aunt and uncle's house for Christmas. That excitement. How does an adult fucking human being not have that level of excitement about something in their life, whatever it is?
Because they don't have any purpose.
They don't.
They have no purpose in life.
So what's the solution?
people have to wake up to it first. So the revelation of you have to have the revelation of your problem before you can fix it. Like when you're so comfortable, like even people that are just making it, if they still have time to play their video games or watch their show or do this, man, they're never going to change. The only way they're ever going to change is if something traumatic happens to them, and if they'll do something about it, they'll be okay. They'll never go back. You know, if you have this balance, to me, when I hear balance, I hear you're in the middle. You're neither hot, you're not cold. You're just floating in the middle, so you can balance on this thing.
So you're
never going to be anything.
On that 8 hours, right? So you're at work 8 hours, you sleep for 8 hours.
Yep.
So we're saying, like, well, but whoa.
Yeah.
I need 8 hours of sleep. No, you need to sleep faster. You need to work harder so that you fall asleep, and in 4 hours you have slept, or 6, whatever it is.
When I lay down, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out. And I mean, people that say they have problems sleeping, you're not doing anything. Like you have to exhaust yourself. You should be exhausting yourself.
Yeah, people have problems sleeping usually. It's because it's diet.
Yeah.
It's we've eaten carbs. The carbs spike the insulin. That is all worn off, and now you're awake and you're tossing and turning.
Yep. Oh shoot, I can drink coffee and go to sleep.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's if you're not, but the whole balance thing. You're dead right. It's very true. I know so many people like that. But do you find, like, when you've got a core group of people, you've got people around you, you've got good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
You saw my good friends this weekend.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not a good
level.
friend. Like, to be my friend, you have to
speech.
it's very real. You have to come here.
And
I've seen this guy out of here. I see Brandel out of here.
Yeah.
A few of them, but like to be friends with me.
Mm-hmm.
And people use the term friend very loosely,
they really
especially
do.
on the internet. My friend. I'm like, when's the last time? Can you tell me what your friend? Have you ever seen your friend?
Exactly.
Other than the internet, or do you think your friend looks like the dog picture?
Yep.
Like, we use that term very uncarefully.
We do, and I mean, you have to surround yourself. Your friends better be pushing you forward.
Mm-hmm.
They gotta be. I mean, I'm all for helping other people and pulling people, getting people up to the next level. But I had to learn the hard way, man. Not everybody. Like, I look at a person, like somebody will come, they'll be talking about a situation, wanting to, I want to be an entrepreneur. No, they don't.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
People that say, I want to start something,
Yeah.
they don't want to start it. I had 5 of those yesterday. I want to start a sewing business. I'm like, why?
Do it.
Why? Why do you want to start a sewing business? If you ask me, should you? I'd tell you absolutely not.
Yeah.
Could I do this if I started from day one the way the industry is, without any knowing the skills that I know and people knowing who I am? I don't know if I could.
Yeah.
Could I start another business, right? That's what I'm curious about. That's my, I really wonder if I doubt, I have doubt, right? Could I do that? I almost need to prove it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, what's your URLs? What's your social? Well, I was going to get those. What do you mean you're going to walk the fuck out the door, come back to me in 2 hours when you have them? Because you can do it in under 2 hours. I go, I'll give you everything.
Yeah.
Dudes pay me thousands of fucking dollars to come talk to me for a couple hours. I'll give you everything I have for free.
Yep.
Up to the guy that has some action.
Yep.
There's very few of them. Evan, Kiri.
Yeah.
There's a few, Chuck Peoples. Like, there's so few people where I'm like, hey, you need to, and they come back, like, because it only takes 30 minutes.
It takes, and that's just, but at the same time, like, they're so.
It's free.
Yeah. But so people are so, like, they like the idea. It's almost like, it's kind of like I hate to use preppers as an example, but they like to talk about it. They like to do all this stuff, but they could, like you said, they couldn't fix the little things in their life, if something happened.
They can, they won't.
Yeah, they won't.
They won't. It's the same guy that he has money, but he's got fucking wires shining through his tires.
Yep.
It's just it's the complacency.
Yeah. That's it'd be interesting. I think things.
If you don't want to have roaches in your house, just take the trash out.
Exactly.
You didn't take the trash out, now you have roaches.
Now you have roaches. What do you think about, like, going forward? Like, so that, things are getting kind of tough.
Oh, I think they're about to get a lot tougher.
I think they are too. But so this election coming up,
if we even have one.
If we have one.
Do you remember riot season? Do you remember lockdown season?
Yeah.
Do you remember pandemic season? It's all coming back. They are telegraphing it right now.
You know what I did during lockdown? I made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
I made a crap ton of money.
Yeah. We gave all of our employees raise. Yes.
I mean, it was, we didn't stop. We actually, that first year of COVID was our record year for business.
Yeah, and they gave people $1,400, and they spent fucking, $10,000.
I mean, everybody was talking about $1,400. Does $1,400 move your needle?
It did.
You know what I'm saying?
It did, man. It got them to buy Louis Vuitton. And they were not running fucking financial checks on a dual household income, and they were giving out $70,000. And if you look at it, it was Chargers and Challengers. That was the mainstay. You literally couldn't go buy a Toyota 4Runner because you had some downward class migration and problems with importation. So your average Range Rover customer thought, maybe I should have something a little more capable. Yeah. So they bought 4Runners. And the people who wanted 4Runners, they've been downward because there was a $10,000, on top, right? So they didn't want to pay it, and they're bitching and complaining. I'm like, and I made a video. I'm like, what you guys don't realize is you're not a 4Runner owner anymore. You're something else.
You're a Kia.
Yeah, you're whatever you are, but you were no longer qualified to own this.
Right.
You're not going to walk. There's going to be that $10,000 denim on top.
Yeah.
Unless you know a guy.
Did it ever change?
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, go look at there's dealerships out of business, ghost towns,
they are.
And the inventory is fucking wrecked. Go to my friend owns a Toyota dealership. We've bought 14. We have had 14 friends. I've bought 3 cars through him. Pierre has sold another 20 through them, and Pierre doesn't even work there. Yeah. But if you walk in there, there's nothing Highline on the floor.
You're
nothing.
You're a motor guy, aren't you?
Kind of.
You like cars. What's like your? Do you want to own something?
It's a tool, man. It's a tool. People ask that all the time because they want to have the conversation, but I think that conversation detracts from a lot of the real conversations we could have online like that. It's a tool. Yeah. What are we driving today? How many people do I have to take? Where are we going? What's the road like? Is it dirt? Is it paved? Do I need a gooseneck trailer? Do I need a bumper pull trailer? It's the same thing.
A tool for you.
That's the number one question guys actually ask me. Number 2, I think, would be, what's your favorite piece of gear? What does it need to do? Yeah. It's a hammer. So it's a hammer.
That's what people walk up to me and they're like, "What's your favorite knife?"
Yeah. Dude, I can't even tell you. I mean, you saw.
What am I doing?
You saw a couple boxes. Like I don't have a clue. But the one I wear every day is because Hank Greenberg put it in my hand. I would have never bought a Microtech if not for Hank. Yeah. Never would I have. I love Microtech. Yep. But I never had it not been for Hank. And I'm a Strider guy. Yeah. What do I wear? A Strider Microtech collab because I can do shit with it that you shouldn't be doing with a knife. Right. And that's what I mean right now.
Yeah. You've been carrying that one for a while. I ask you all the time on your live streams.
6 years probably. Like I had an SOE Strider on yesterday, but it's brand new. Yeah. And I couldn't get it out of my pocket. It's so tight.
I can't wait for you to get the next ones in.
We'll do them. We'll get them.
It's going to be cool.
Yeah, I have to stay on Strider. Strider's so busy, man. It's like us. Guys, like I love doing collaborations. How
did you meet those guys? What was that like?
So Mick was in federal prison.
Okay.
Dwayne was in Bosnia over there, where that plane was shot down. That was his area of operation. And Dwayne got himself into some very cool situation. Bosco Boscovich, for instance, like the mobster over there. Dwayne was doing security, became friends with that dude. Really? Yeah, that dude was on the cover of Time magazine and shit.
That's funny.
Dwayne has some stories. You're like, there's no fucking way this is true. And then you meet the people. Really? Like I've had a lot of people in my life that were telling stories that were so far-fetched. And then they show up with Ashton Kutcher and all the, it's just, you're like, no fucking way. Yeah. And then you find out that it's real. It's not even embellished a little bit. And anyways, he's in Bosnia. There was a picture in a knife magazine and a gun magazine thing about Strider knives. And there was a dude, Jim Ramsey, and he was the man's man. He should have been like an action hero movie dude. He was an SF dude, played for the San Diego Chargers. At 50, I wish I could, at his age 50, I wish that if I could make myself look like it'd be that man. He had his child at 70. He was like a father to child. Gosh. But he always built super high-end M14s and M1 Grands and stuff like that. And his SOG Sales was the name of the company. And as I would go to the gun shows in San Diego, and I was so intimidated. I wanted to talk to him, but what the fuck would I say to this dude? Anyways, he had a couple Strider knives, and then I started doing shows, and he saw the gear, and we became friends. Dwayne was very good friends with him, and while Dwayne was overseas, I got one of these knives, And guys are like, what is that? And we were hacking legs off of tables. We were cutting anchor chain on bases. Like when we started doing Crossroads of the West gun show, it was 1 page. When we stopped doing Crossroads of the West, it was 4, 5, 6 pages.
Wow.
And all of the pages were the shit you couldn't do because we were doing them. We were literally throwing them into concrete, chipping concrete. We'd stand there and guys are like, what about, and I'd take their knife and I'd literally cut their blade in half with the other knife. So when we were doing a big Pomona gun show and Dwayne was back from Bosnia. He was back in town. And I kept hearing, hey, Dwayne's looking for you. Dwayne's looking for you. And I figured Dwayne's pissed. Like, I'm like, I'm in trouble. And I'm dodging Dwayne. Finally, I meet Dwayne. He's like, you're the guy, man. I've been looking for you, man. It's so fucking awesome. I've heard all these stories. I just wanted to meet you. And I was there. I think I was there with Scully. And the Pomona Gun Show, there's nothing like, it's like World's Fair. You know, you look at World's Fair and you're like, man, we miss so, in being born now, we miss so much. That's how the Pomona Gun Show was. It's like the biggest county fair you've ever seen, but guns. It was in like 10 buildings, and there was other buildings. The National Guard was set up with fucking tanks and rocket launchers. We were out front in like a 40 by 40 area. We'd have an F-470 fucking Zodiac out there. We'd have 20 mannequins with parachutes with full comm gear. We just there like displaying. People would come to the booth because we had we were at the SEAL Team Expos in Glorieta Bay, and the SEALs would come in and like, man, your booth looks better than our booth. I'm like, that's because they don't let you bring anything new out here. But we would just sell T-shirts there. But at the gun show, so anyways, that's how we met. So a week later, when I don't talk on the phone. Like you'll never get me on the telephone because I have to walk around when I talk, and I will spend hours on the phone with you. If you text me, I can give you an immediate answer with a couple of words. But I remember walking around several times because the cordless phone in the house died, and I had to get the other phone. And Dwayne's like, hey, you want to split a shop? I got a shop. And I went up there, and what he meant by split a shop is, hey, I want you to pay all the shop, these bills, and I'm going to have this little hole in the back. And that's how the shop started. And we had one half of the building, and it looks kind of like the Alamo, kind of Spanish fort looking. But it was an old jewelry shop on one side, and then now it's like a tattoo shop, or who knows what it is. But we had both sides eventually, and after about a year.
Wow. So how many people were you running?
36.
36 people.
So when the raid went down, I was running like 6 people.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm out of business. I'm on CNN. They say all this stuff. Nobody's going to do business. We didn't know what was going on. They didn't even arrest me at that point. They came back 9 days later and arrested me. So we were super in limbo. Like they explosive breached the doors, fucking busted everything up. And when we got back in there and the dust had kind of settled, I started listening to the answering machine. And it was all dudes like, hey, I don't know what happened, but we'll buy all your inventory. So I immediately sold everything we had. It was $63,000 we got. And I had 63 grand. And I didn't know if I'm going to jail. I didn't know shit. But we scaled from 6 employees to 12 and from 12 to 36 in, 30 days.
Wow.
We were wearing sewing machines out. We were literally wearing them out. One crew would stand up and leave. Another crew would sit down. We were running 24 hours a day, wearing fucking machines out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
I had never made $100,000. I made $1 million in 90 days.
Y'all are killing it. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's
but that work is harder than this work.
Yeah. Now, were you guys just making stuff mainly for teams and military?
Yeah. So everything we were doing was like SEAL team stuff. So it started in the garage, right? I was just making stuff.
Right.
And my friend Rich Poland, he was an EOD guy. He had a friend named Darren Isham, both twins, did both Ishams, went to Dev Group. Both of them were Command Master Chief for BUDS. Like that name has a huge history with the SEAL teams. So Scully went to school with Darren. Scully played war with a bunch of these guys. I didn't even know Jeff yet. And I always heard about Jeff, this mysterious sniper, because Rich knew him and Isham knew him, all these dudes. I met him through my friend James Rexroad who I worked out with, just this big dude at the Santee gun shop. And then eventually they're like, hey, you want a job? So I would work part-time at the Santee gun shop. And that whole circle all knew each other, and it just kind of came together. But originally it was all SEAL team stuff. And then the SEALs, any law enforcement agency doing any anti-drug stuff could get federal money. And they could go to SEAL weapons school and applied explosives. They could literally go out and train in SEAL team with the SEAL teams in the classes. So the cops started seeing all my shit, and I'd always had done dumb stuff, right? And really most of it was spurred from not paying a traffic ticket. I wouldn't pay a ticket, and then they'd suspend my license, and then they'd impound my vehicle, and I had a problem going to court, and it was all dumb shit. There was no victim to any of it. Yeah. So I figured the cops were looking for me because they started coming to Mom's house and knocking on the door, leaving business cards and shit. And I dodged them for a long time. And I'm out in the garage one night, probably 1 a.m, and they open the door, and they're like, "Man, you're a hard guy to find." I'm like, "On purpose?" And I thought I was getting arrested for something, and they're like, "Hey, we want gear." And these were San Diego SWAT guys. They had it divided in divisions, and we were Eastern Division. And I don't remember who came over, but we became very good friends with all those dudes.
Wow.
And then that led to, hey, we're training with LAPD, so we did stuff with Tustin, Torrance, Los Angeles, Ontario, Escondido, Oceanside. Like, we did fucking everybody, all the way up. And then we'd go into Arizona and do Crossroads of the West, so we'd get exposure to people there. And it just went like, wow. And this was pre-internet.
Wow.
There was no internet.
It's just word of mouth, just people finding you.
Yeah,
magazines.
No. Like, we weren't even in magazines for years. It got to the point where we were in magazines all the time. Yeah. I never paid for advertising, and I was never interviewed by a magazine, but we were always in magazines. Yeah. I would literally go to a bookstore, or Walmart used to have these huge and I would look through all the magazines to see where I was in the magazines.
That's funny.
And then we had 3 covers in 1 year when the USS Cole blew up. Scully's guys, some of his snipers were over there. Jared Johnson worked at the shop. A bunch of them dudes, and they were on the cover of Soldier of Fortune. When they fixed the Cole, they said, "Hey, pull her out with a tug," and the CO of the ship said, "No, we're pulling out under own power." And man, I get chills right now talking about it. And they said, "We're pulling out under our own power," and they were running PA American Badass, and they were fucking blasting the Yemenis harbor. Like everywhere, everybody in Yemen and everywhere around heard this. The American Badass Kid Rock song, and just as they fucking start to move, the wind hits that fucking flag, and that whole American flag unflails, and the 3 guys are all standing there in complete SOE kit head to toe.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and we had 3 of those covers, and we had actual articles on the kit, and they did it well. Most of the articles we were in, it was like an article on reconnaissance or MSPF, stuff like that. But there were some articles about us, and then fast forward, we had friends that were writing articles about us for Recoil, and finally we actually bought advertising. We ran advertising, full page ads in Recoil magazine 3 years maybe. Never once did I have anybody go, "Hey, I saw you in Recoil magazine." Never. They were good about sending us copies and shit. And the first one we were in, they made plaques. And like, when you get put in a magazine, a company will send you an invoice if you want your official plaque for the wall. So, but we never traced any, because we were doing social media stuff. Yeah. And it was working way greater.
What years was that? Do you know?
The Recoil magazine? We stopped going to Blade Show in 2019. They didn't have Blade Show 2019. So this was probably 15, 16, 17, maybe, right around there.
Now, I know the story, like you leaving California, like Jaeger. You moved out here because of Jaeger. I never got to meet that guy, but I wish I had.
And I wish you had too.
I loved him.
Yes.
And I didn't even know him. But you said something yesterday that I thought was really interesting. You said when you left, you never were going back.
No. Never.
So you're like the burn the ships.
We left. What did we leave? 90% of everything we had probably when we moved.
It was a lot.
I left a dive locker. I left 2 fucking Zodiac boats out there. I mean, we left everything. We brought dumb stuff. It's a trip what we brought. Like, we brought hundreds of snakes with us. My reptile, like, they were in cups, just stacked up. A boa got loose in Amanda's truck on the way. I remember we stopped in New Mexico at this steal your kidney motel. It was more uncomfortable than prison beds. And there was toads everywhere. And we caught a bunch of toads and had them in the bathroom at the hotel because we're snake guys. We're reptile guys. We brought, the trailer, when we loaded this black race trailer out here up, the tires were flat. We had to take shit out of it before we could leave. We loaded gym equipment and weight, plate, like tons of plates and all the sewing machines, which there was only a few of them. But most of the shit we moved here with, we never unpacked it.
Really?
It's in one of the other buildings up the road still. Like, we moved it from house to house to house. And like when you say basement, like the first place we moved into, Cedar Lakes, it was the best house we ever had at the time.
Really?
It's like, holy shit, this is like an acre and a half of property and
Yeah.
a private lake, and we have a basement. It was like an REI mixed with a Walmart. It was like prepper paradise. But we had all the boxes tucked in the corner. And then we moved to like the lake house, same thing, never unpacked it. Now it's all sitting up the road. All that shit that was so important, we didn't, like when guys are like, what would you do if the tornado, because we had a tornado a couple months, years ago that were coming, maybe a year ago, it's coming here and going to wipe everything out. It didn't, luckily. What would you do? Well, we'd go to work up the fucking road. Like, there's still sewing machines there. That's my backup plan. I'm like, but the insurance would pay that off, and we would just scrape it to the ground. We'd scrape everything into a dozer pile, light that bitch on fire, and we just fucking start over the way we want it. That's what I would do.
That's awesome. So the whole, like, I'm not going back.
So I'm not, like...
You never went back?
When my mother passed away.
Yeah.
We went back to San Diego 3 or 4 years after the fact. Myself, Cody, Dakota, Sebastian, and Amanda went back when my mom passed. We were there for maybe 4 days. San Diego was a shithole. Yeah. Like, you don't realize it when you're in the middle of it. Like, Lompoc Prison looks pretty nice when you're in it. There's big, huge palm tree, big, huge pine trees, beautiful grass. Used to be club fed, and then before that was an Air Force base. Do you want to go there? Like, when you're immersed in it, like you can make the best of it. Yeah. San Diego, we went to the nicest, because when we left, we were fucking broke. Yeah. Like, didn't have gas to get here. Like, literally, when we set off on the trip, we did not have money for fuel to get to Tennessee.
How'd you make it?
We just fucking sold. I just kept doing the internet shit. James sent me a little bit of money, but we didn't, like, we had fuel in the back of the truck. We did not have money to get any more gas when we came.
What did James say that made you come?
Standing in Walmart, I was on 3 years of federal probation, and I was nearing the end of it. And I called James to talk, and I don't talk on the phone. I don't know why I did. I was standing in the garden section of Kearney Mesa Walmart to check out, and he's like, "Hey man, what's up?" I'm like, "Man, I need to get out of California," and I don't know that I even meant it. Yeah. He's like, "Come to Tennessee." I go, "Don't think I won't fucking come to Tennessee." He goes, "You won't." I'm like, "Hey, we're going to Tennessee." I don't know how we're going. So we actually flew out this was on a Wednesday. We flew out Thursday, the day I was off probation. And we came out, and then I'm like, "Hey, I'm here." He's like, "Okay, Maryland, find him a house." And we drove all around this place. There's still places I saw that day that I've never seen again because we were so lost driving around. And when we finally set the GPS, which was an actual GPS to go back to James's, we were like 2 miles from his place. So we just drove around. Like, Marilyn took us. She tried her best to find a place. She drove us all. We went all around. We looked at a house. When we opened the door, there was no floor in the house. It fell in, like somebody just chainsawed all the joists. It was fucking bizarre. We looked at another house where we went in, and the whole living room was a Confederate flag painted on the wall. And when you went to the hallway to the bedroom, there was no floor in that house. It was dirt, like maybe they were growing weed or something. We could not find, because we needed a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. We needed a 4-bedroom, really. Yeah. And they don't fucking exist. They're occupied. So this place is like a retirement place. And nobody lived here. And the people that did, there were some badass houses, like California houses. The people live in them. They're not renting them. So we just happened to go over to see Tracy. "Hey, you want to see my Mac 10? In the lake. So he's like, the lady's across the street. He's like, "Hey, Joni, do you want to rent your house?" She's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "How much do you want?" She's like, $850. I'm like, "Here's $3,000. We'll rent it. We'll be back in 30 days. And we rented the fucking house, moved in 30 days later. And, man, we came in with a Ford Explorer and one of the open trailers that's over there. We came in with my F-250 and that big black trailer. And that thing got 4 miles a gallon coming up the hills in Arizona. And we got 6 miles a gallon best all the entire way here, V10. And we rolled in. 30 days later, the day we rolled in, it was Alumni Weekend. And we uncoupled at the driveway, rolled right out to the range. There was a huge bonfire, and all the kids shot machine guns. How old were you, 6?
I was a little older than that, but I was young.
Yeah. Even Sebastian fucking fired Barrett, fired fucking AK-47s, and it was on. It was fucking on. Like, we did not have a place to work. We didn't know where we were going. James was like, let's find you a shop. And that's the red buildings up the road. The gear shop was here. His office was here. The middle one was like this crackhead apartment. And then the end used to be like a bread warehouse or something. Had some roll-up doors with a high loading dock. And he was planning on putting his class in there. And finally he's like, just set a couple machines in here. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And he's like, we want everything. I want to sell everything you make. I'm like, okay. So he's like, I want everything in every color. I'm like, you can't sell every color. Like, it's not going to happen. And we just started building. And I finally turned off the website, and we pushed everything into the gear shop. And if we put it in there, it was because he was doing everything on Get Off the X. Like, there still wasn't quite a Facebook, and there definitely wasn't any marketing or anything. So we put everything in there. He'd be like, hey, we have this shit. And it was like, just like Light Fighter, AR15.com, and Get Off the X. And I was a moderator on Light Fighter for the tactical gear section. James was the vice president of Light Fighter when that formed. And then he had left. He was driving to Clarksville every day to work. And then he started shooting in a gravel pit, started TAC Response, and then the gear shop. So we would put 3 of everything on the pegs. All 3 walls were fucking just an SOE gear shop. And he had his classroom kind of in there on some plastic picnic tables. They'd sell out of 3, and we'd put 3, and they'd sell out of 3, and we'd put 6. They'd sell out of 6, we'd put 12, and we'd put 24. And we would just bill them every fucking Wednesday, and they'd cut a check, and we just kept scaling. When we hit the ground here, when we were here visiting, we went to some factories like HIS, Chick Jeans, Oshkosh, Levi's. Everybody was here. The assets were here. Like, when we went into the HIS building, I remember thinking, this is what General Dynamics looks like, where my mom worked. Wow. Like, there was a security gate. There was a fucking power generating station. We walked in the building, and there was hundreds of sewing machines all compressed together, just rusting. And there were pallets of 4x8 sheets of denim so tall you couldn't even reach the top of them. Like, these buildings are so big, we could rally car race inside the building. Like, you could drift and shit. So I assumed that the labor's here. Yeah. What we found when we got here, we ran a radio spot and a newspaper ad. We had 143 people show up the first week, and I had unthreaded the sewing machines just to see if you really had ever sewed. None of them could thread the sewing machines. None. So we thread the sewing machines finally, and like, here's your machine. Sew around on this material, make me a box X, sew me some zigzags. We hired 3 people.
Out of 140.
They couldn't sew. Like, they had a dude. Like, they have a guy every morning that changes the needle. They have a guy that changes the thread. And what we found was we build from beginning to end, small line.
They were doing just little pieces.
Yeah, they were doing automated machines, tackers. They had one specific thing, and they were getting performance pay. So the more they do every day, the higher the pay scale goes. So they're doing thousands of pieces of 2 inches or 3 inches or a pocket set or whatever, the labor. And then the ones that we had ladies come in that could sew, and they were like fucking 80 years old. Like, I have a lady on payroll right now who's worked for me. If I've been here 18 years, she's been on payroll, all 2 of them on payroll all 18 years.
Wow.
And she's 73 right now.
Really?
She's not present. She just had like double knee surgery replacement shit.
Still with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Levi factory was here.
Everybody was here.
Really?
Carhartt's still here. When we moved in, Carhartt was doing repairs from Mexico. Carhartt's kind of a weird thing. I don't really know how it runs. They hire a fucking ton of people. I think it's just for taxes. Yeah. Keep them on, and they spin them up and train them, and then they fucking lay them off. Yep.
Huh. They don't really build anything here, though, anymore, do they?
I don't know what they're doing. I really don't know. I mean, it's kind of like there's a us and them kind of like a little battle. Like, when I run, hey, we're hiring, Carhartt employees is like, come to Carhartt, we get paid way more. I'm like, really? What do you fucking make? Because I have people on my floor that are 5-year employees making more than their 20-year parents who work at Carhartt.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like, it's easy to be mediocre. It's hard to be mediocre and be around me. And I heard Alex Harmozy, and it stuck with me. I've said it hundreds of times now. Like, the difference between a really big successful business and a smaller business is a really big successful business has the ability to tolerate mediocrity. And I've taken it a little bit farther. I think it's because the people running that business don't own the business. Yep. And it's not their money they're watching and their unperformance, right? When you hire a manager and nobody's managing the manager, and especially in a small town, everybody knows each other. So whereas when I'm in the building, I'm like, hey, motherfucker, what are you doing? Watch one, do one, teach one. If I'm standing here and you can do this task, I do it in 1 minute, you do it in 1 minute, I do 100 and you do 100. Why did you do 20 in 2 hours when I walked away? It's like that. When I come in here and podcast all day Wednesday, and I mean all day, like we run all fucking day Wednesday and most of the day Friday. At the end of the day, Wednesday, the guys are able to clear the table off for the most part. When I'm in there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, at the end of the day, there's so much work you can't see the other dude on the side of the table. They feed him so much work. And the only difference is that I'm present in the building. My people are really good.
Yeah.
They just don't manage people.
Yeah.
I've got a lady that's fucking the best. Like if I was going to do a different business model, I would shut everything down and retain 3 people and just do custom work.
Yeah.
She's like my top dog.
Really?
She cannot tell people. I heard recently too, when you're standing around talking shit about somebody, that conversation should immediately be had to that person.
Yeah.
To correct, fix, or remove, right? But she can't do it.
Yeah.
I'd pay her way more if I didn't have to.
Yeah.
I do pay her way more.
What do you see like in the future, like for SOE? What do you want to do?
Really what I want is Cody to take over SOE.
Yeah.
Cody doesn't want to do SOE. It's probably me.
Yeah.
It's probably me. I want to see other lines. I want to see other things. And I don't really know what that is. Really, I've spent a lot of time waiting for society to collapse, and I've been surprised a couple times when it hasn't.
Yeah.
And I've maneuvered in ways, that have gotten me in some trouble. I went to the IRS at one point and said, hey, I've got some things to I went to a tax lawyer and said, hey, I have some things to tell you, and you're not going to believe any of them. And he's like, I don't believe a fucking word you just said. And then we met 2 weeks later, and he's like, I've never seen anything like this. This is, okay, I get it. And I just put everything into, in case, society collapsed. And it got to the point where eventually somebody's coming to knock on the door, right? So we went and said, hey, I've got this to tell you guys. And he went to them and said, okay, and here's the plan. And he's like, why don't you just fucking charge this off? Why don't you, and I'm like, I'm not filing bankruptcy. I'm just not. So we did a payment plan and fucking paid them and did some, I was paying $80,000 a week to the IRS.
Goodness gracious.
4 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's why I say I've been complacent.
Yeah.
Like most of the money that I owed and didn't pay them with the fines and shit, it's kind of changed what's happened in the last, several years. But the SOE brand, do we start other companies and put them under SOE or do we start something different? Really, I don't know what I want to do. Like I know that I can sit and sew something and sell these rigs for $1,000 a day. Could I do thousands of them? I don't know. Yeah. Are we better off? Like if I build them, they're $1,000. If production builds them, they're $750. But really, if we priced them at $500, we'd sell 80,000, right? So where do we want to be? How much work do we want to do for the money that we're bringing in? But we do it all the time, and I do it kind of just to see. Like I would do bags where I would auction them. And the auctions were like, I'd have some, if I had 900 in my head, it would go for 6. If I'm like, this is going to be 6, it'd go for $3,000. I'm like, and if you ever run an auction and it doesn't fulfill, that's your new price. So you've got to be careful with that shit if you're listening to what I'm saying right now. But when I do hybrid bags, I told those 5 kids this week, there was 20 of them. The 5 that I actually had a real like, look, man, if you want to get into sewing, do this shit. I don't know that you can do it, but every time I put a leather base and I do the embellishments and the ends with multi-cam black and I put all the webbing and the Cobra buckles, like that's a $3,000 bag, proven 50 times.
Wow. So if you were to start a new business, what would you want to do? Like what's the...
I think we're going to... So I always talk about SOE Black Label. And Hank Greenberg really executed well, not even knowing what we were talking about, but like that black side custom. More Hank Greenberg, Starling gear, something very... The Dazzle, right? I love that Starling gear stuff. I would definitely... Jade would be involved in it or in some form, like he made all the beads and stuff. But I see... leather, multicam black, metal hardware, copper, brass rivets type stuff. And then like the concierge service. Like I always joked about that, but okay, this rig is $1,000. I'm going to build it. We're going to do it on live so you can see us. We'll interact and show you the
cool.
process.
Yeah.
And then here's your rig and we ship it out.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's just it's how much time I want to put into that and what that looks like. We're building out a SOE spot in here in one of the corners.
You're going to do some live stuff.
Yeah, well, I've been, like, we have, 5 video series? We do a whole video series called Full Build, where I show you how to build the shit, and then Gear Locker, where we just kind of talk about the stuff. But we if you can't build it when I showed you how to build it, because there was no YouTube when we started doing this. I'm always surprised when guys are like, I want to do this. How do I do this? I'm like, fuck, I've given you everything.
Yeah, it's all there.
It's all there.
I just don't want to do it.
They don't.
But so when I drove up this morning, you were like out feeding your animals. You got like
I needed to be away from the building.
Yeah.
So everywhere.
Is that like your getaway thing? Is that what you
kind of like I had a real cool dude come in. He's like, hey, I want to volunteer and just do the animals every morning. I'm like, man, what you don't realize is when I do the compound videos, that's in the morning with the camera, and that's kind of my getaway decompress. Like I come in I'm down here this morning, and everywhere I turn, I can't do something without doing something else.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have guys come in and set the shop back up and finish it. I can do it, but is my time spent better somewhere else, right? I'm like, okay, I'll go cut belts. Nope, everything's piled here. I got to move this. Where does it go? It goes here. This table's not here. So I'm like, I got to get the fuck out of here. I spent 30 minutes this morning just spinning around in circles, and I'm like, so I went out and just took care of the animals. Let them set it up. Hopefully when I go back in there,
it's already to go.
But I mean, when we do one of these events, like, you've seen my work bay. Yeah. It always looks like that. It's a fucking wreck. The chick what's her name? The girl we did the podcast with yesterday?
I don't remember her name.
I'm like, okay, you've been here. What advice do you have? She's like, you need to be organized. Like, and I don't even remember what she said. She's like, my personality is ID10T. I don't know what she said. And you need to find one of me. I'm like, what would you charge? She's like, $2,500. I'm like, okay, here. No, I'm not doing it. You need to find somebody. I'm like, how would I know? She's like, it'd take me 2 days. I'd completely organize that space. I go, how would I find it? She goes, I give you a spreadsheet and barcodes. I'm like, holy shit, that's exactly what I fucking need.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what. Oh, so I'll go in there to look for something, and I'll spend 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, this has already cost me more than the thing costs. So I'll order another one, but in case I'm going to lose it again, I'll order 10. And then they'll sit on the table for the next 6 months out there on that table, and they'll have some carts with all the tools I've ordered and shit that are just there. And then when we do one of these things, that shit, it's in the way, so it all gets pushed into my workspace where people are not allowed to go, and now the gear area looks presentable and awesome, but that never gets removed or come back out of there. Yeah. I'm my own worst enemy. If you came in and completely organized all my shit, like when we moved in the building, it looked like Resident Evil. Yeah. Everything was nice and clean and sterile, had a place. I say Resident Evil because it was so fucking bright. The lights coming on. It looked just like that again in 2 weeks.
That's the thing. I don't know. I mean, how you would conform to a system too well.
No, I don't either.
It'd be interesting to watch.
But that's why we're putting a SOE station out here, because I'm in the way of me, and hopefully it won't be out here where we're filming.
Yeah. That would be funny, though. You should film like that whole process, like John gets organized.
Oh, I couldn't fucking do it. We could do a time lapse if I'm not. Yeah. She's like, I need you to go on vacation.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's that?
Yeah. That's a work trip.
Yeah.
That's what I call them.
But I don't, we don't go on vacation. Yeah. Everything we do is camera. And, literally, when we get in the truck, we leave somewhere every weekend. 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever. She drives. I've got a laptop. I've got a phone. We're just all constant. It's just constant social media.
I think people that go on vacation all the time are trying to escape something.
That's what I said. Like my friend.
I don't enjoy.
I got a friend goes to Florida. He loves to go to Florida, right? And that's his life is to go to Florida and fish for 3 days. And I'm like, why don't you just fucking go be a fisherman?
Yeah.
Why don't you go and yeah, you're not going to have this fucking $1 million home, but why don't you go to the island in Florida you like to go to, buy a property and fish? Well, then I wouldn't like it. Well, you definitely don't like this shit. Build a fucking life that you don't need a vacation from. Scully's like, man, John built his own POW camp. I'm like, it's pretty nice though, isn't it? There were days when I'd be in here working, there'd be people here, and I'd be sewing, and I'm like, I just need to do something else. So I'll go outside, grab the razor, go do a few laps on the track, jump the razor a few times, come back in, and now I'm ready to sew.
Ready to go.
Yeah, there was a full motocross track here. I could take the mountain bikes out. I had 1.25 miles. I could jog it. I could mountain bike it. I could ride it on the razor. We could walk around and shoot targets with the bow. But
yeah, that's what I have to do. if it's just I have to get away and just hop on the bike.
Yeah, it used to be like when we were in San Diego. When we moved here, we figured out what we were spending $1,200 a month at Starbucks, and Starbucks was maybe 2 miles from the house. So we'd take the kids to school, and Amanda and I would go to Starbucks, and we'd sit there and have some coffee, come home, and then 10:15 or so to get out of there, we'd go to Starbucks, and then the kids would come home and we'd go to Starbucks, and then after dinner, 5 o'clock, we'd go to Starbucks and go to Blockbuster Video and rent all the videos. And like it was just kind of sewing and in the garage playing movies and Starbucks. But it wasn't because I drink Starbucks. I'm like, this isn't even good.
Yeah. It was just
it's the destination. Yeah. Yep.
Cool. It's been fun.
All right.
Enjoy.
What about you?
What do you want to know?
How big are you going to make that company? Is this the next Smoky Mountain Knife Works?
Maybe. I hope so. If I don't know that.
Well, you didn't say no.
No, I didn't say no. So I'm opening a brick and mortar in it'll be 4 to 5 months before the building's finished. And that'll be a big step for me. The knives, I mean, it does great online. It really does. But really where I've kind of found like the voice right now has been smaller makers. So smaller makers, really trying to give them a place in the market. And it seems to be working pretty good.
You know Knife Joy?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's my friend Jade.
Really?
Yeah.
I know one of the guys that used to work for him real well. He doesn't work for him anymore, but yeah, he doesn't live far from the house.
Right on.
Yeah, I love Knife Joy's awesome.
So do you do Blade Show?
I'll be there. Yeah.
Are you setting
I'm
up?
not setting up. No, I'll just be there to buy.
Why not set up?
It's just my first year, and
Okay.
I don't know. I'm hoping by next year to be able to. We're going to probably do a booth with a lot of the small makers.
Josh asked Scully if he'd bring me in, so we might come in for a Strider. We'll come in for a day.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'd love to get some Striders in there sometime. I don't know if he does dealers anymore, but I love his stuff.
He does few dealers.
A few dealers.
Yeah,
I love his stuff. You know, I found my kind of footing right now in the kind of the bushcraft world, but you know, that's just where I am. That's just what I'm trying to do right now.
When I look at the nylon stuff, I see a lot of bushcraft stuff,
Yeah.
like the pocket organizers would do. There's a million guys building that shit.
Yeah.
Why don't you bring in some of that shit and sell some shit like that? And I would think it would go hand in hand.
I'd love to. Yeah.
I'm not saying my shit. I mean any of it.
So there's a guy that's making some like bush kind of Fedora.
Is it like Possum Gear or someone? Or
so I've just met him, but his name is Jason. He runs Lester Bushcraft.
Yeah.
So I've got some of his stuff right now. Trying to work some stuff out. We met him. He called Evan and wanted some radios.
Good.
And then we got some of his pouches and stuff. But I think that's going to be a big hit.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of funny. The EDC world is kind of moving into the bushcraft world just a smidge.
It's like that something different, man. But if you look at
people like to spend money.
When you look at the EDC stuff, they don't use any of that shit. It's just to take a picture on a dump tray or in a pocket organizer. I mean, look at how many of those. I mean, they're beautiful. Mm-hmm. They got all the purple stuff, all the orange stuff one day. I mean, I'm like, I should buy all that shit. I'm like, where the fuck am I going to put all that? It'll come in and I'll never fucking know where it is.
That's the, I'd use, so I started, woodland is like my thing. Mm-hmm. So I started using my SOE bags as like backgrounds and stuff because I like the woodland.
Well, tag me in them and we'll share them out.
So I hope to, I'm really just, I mean, it's been 3 months. So I'm just really trying to find the footing. And there was a lot of stuff I had to fix, like I've had to fix and stuff that I inherited. So
like website stuff or?
Yeah, website. I'm working with a developer right now to get that situated.
Are you good at website stuff?
I don't like to do it. I used to do quite a bit.
Your boy seems to do pretty well with it.
He does, yeah. So he's actually helping me a lot with it.
The guy sitting in there, the bodybuilder,
mm-hmm.
genius. Fucking,
really?
Like, yeah.
I met him. What's his name?
Jason,
yeah.
Jason
I
Burnett.
remember that, yeah.
Anything computer.
Yeah, he seems to be
like
pretty,
in seconds. Like he built the entire fucking website overnight, yeah.
And so it's been it's just been a lot of stuff, man. Just, it's funny, like,
do you put the fires out as you find them, or do you build a task
I've got a list?
list?
I've got a list for sure. I mean, I've kind of had to prioritize it. I had, when I got the company, I inherited some brands I don't want to deal with. I got some brands I want to deal with, and so juggling all that, getting stuff situated.
Just stop ordering them and fucking clear them out.
I'm just clearing them out. Yeah, I actually cleared out a ton this weekend.
Good.
This week it was great.
Good.
So,
what's your top selling brands right now?
right now, there's a company called Primitive Woodsman. That's what I've been carrying this thing for 4 years. It was actually from the first order that we ordered from, and it's pretty. That's what I use every day.
This micarta.
Yeah, it's Micarta. 80 CRV2 steel. Guy named Josh Morgan. He's over in Boone, North Carolina.
I know 420.
420.
440C, 420.
Oh yeah. So that's really popular with a lot of fixed blade makers. It's high carbon steel. But he's one of my biggest sellers for sure. There's another company, Tepfer Armory, and I just picked up one of the guys. I'm their only dealer. Bowman made out of Alabama, and man, this stuff just gone.
Can you take everything? Can you sell everything he makes?
Yeah.
Can he feed you?
He's doing a pretty dang good job.
Good.
I had some stuff to bring this weekend, so I was happy.
What's that knife there cost?
300.
Come with a sheath?
Yeah. So that's so a lot of stuff's leather sheath. I'm really happy a lot of these makers are moving to Kydex as well. So we're able to offer both.
Yeah, it used to be you'd get a knife.
Yeah, you just get
and some newspaper in a cardboard tube, and then you had to get a sheath made.
You had to get a sheath. And so now, like, I don't sell knives without a sheath. I think that's the most disappointing thing to me if I get something in the mail. It's just like a knife without a sheath. Like, now I got to go do that.
Yeah, we were building 1,000 sheaths a month for Strider.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all do the pouches for them too.
The zipper knife pouches? Yeah,
those are awesome.
Yeah.
That's I love those things. I've got knives I keep in those things.
Yeah, knife makers will come to us and they're like, hey, I want to do this thing. And I'm like, all right, here's your price. He's like, well, these others sell for $3. I'm like, I know.
Go buy them.
Yeah, they won't. You can't even put them in the box without the zippers busting out.
There's another guy. He's here in Tennessee named Jason Knight. He's a master bladesmith. Him and his son Tristan. Tristan's building the coolest swords ever. Like, they are incredible. He's just
like zombie killing swords or samurai swords.
Both, but a lot of like samurai type stuff. His stuff is just off the charts.
That's cool.
So he's going to be my entrance into swords, which I've never really dealt with, but I'm excited. And I mean, Jason he's been a master bladesmith for forever. He started as like a sculptor and a wood carver, and then moved into knife making. He's
an artist.
Unbelievable. One of the most creative people. He's kind of like you a little bit, which is interesting. He started a lot of trends in the fixed blade world. There's so many. If I showed you one of his knives, you would see that all over the place, and he loves it. He loves to inspire people to go make stuff. He doesn't like you to blatantly copy him, but people, you can see that flair, that a little bit of his design in so many things. He was on Forged in Fire and stuff, which when I met him, I had never watched. So I was like, man, I never saw you. I never watched you.
Do you know Jeremy Horton?
I know who he is.
He's here in town.
Really? I didn't know he was in Camden.
Yep.
That's awesome. Man, North Carolina is like just an unbelievable amount of knife makers.
I bet it is.
In the Appalachian Mountains up through there. It's just amazing. So I'm excited. I can offer them what a lot of companies can't, and that's media. And so I have been filming. I actually haven't even started the meet because I don't want to start and stop. And so I've been, for the last 3 months, I've been filming just nonstop. So
what's your media team look like? How many guys you got?
So if I go film, it's me and one other guy, usually. We've been doing a lot of podcasts. I've got 6 or 7 podcasts in the getting ready for the drip. So I'm shooting some documentary stuff up at the Night Studios in Bristol. And so all that stuff, hopefully in the next 3 weeks, we'll start the push.
Cool.
And so with social media, I mean, like you just can't start and stop. It just has to be consistent.
You can start and stop.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, if you stop for 3 days, they punish you.
Yeah. I think Overton said 3 a.m, 3 p.m.
Yeah.
I think that's what Cody told me too.
Yeah. He's killing it.
Who?
Luke.
Oh,
Overton.
fuck yeah. Out of nowhere.
Crazy.
When he said on my live feed the other night, so he's like, I'll give you a 30-minute consultation for $500. He told somebody. I'm like, I'll fucking take it.
Yeah. It's an hour phone call for $300 or something like that. I was like, that's a
I'll
deal.
send you the money now.
That's a deal. But he just figured, he's cracked the code and he's got the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, all the overlays and it's fucking, he's great. That's why I tell people all the time, I'm like, you want your social media, watch what he's do what he's doing.
Yep. The hardest thing with social media, you got to have a personality. And that's how you...
I don't have a personality.
Fuck
no, I don't.
You got
Not
an
like
online
Luke.
personality.
Not like Overton.
He's just he's the same. It doesn't matter. It don't matter if he's filming a video or he's talking to you. It's funny. But no, I think you've got you've found your niche. You found your avenue.
We need a thing like act accordingly.
I know.
Like that was so good with the act accordingly stuff.
With Cody.
And I think he wrangled back a little bit. I think they probably hammered him a little bit. I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe some of these videos are still up here.
Yeah. Well, so we're one of the companies that I own. We're doing his, me and two other guys own the company. We're doing.
I didn't know if you wanted that out there.
We're doing his merch.
Okay.
And the name of the company, our merch company is Scout Carry. So we're doing all the fulfillment and everything, manufacturing of the merch. We're working with the people I've been working with for years.
So you're going to set up in-house embroidery and print and
we've got a shop right there next to us, real close.
That can handle your volume?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so we'll be releasing the pre-order with Cody's first shirt here in probably next week or so, which I'm excited about.
I'll bet they don't know what they're in for.
It's going to be.
Are they handling fulfillment or you handle fulfillment?
We're doing it all.
How many people you got shipping?
We have a lot of people that we can call in to do.
Yeah.
So the good thing
is, what's your flow look like? How big's your building?
We've got I don't know how big it is. It's not. I mean, it's probably 40 foot long by. The space we're moving into is 40 foot long, probably 40, 50 foot long by, I don't know, 30.
Like I look at Live Fit and I look at like Flag Nor Fail, right?
Yeah.
Rob and Dana's company, and those are some fucking big companies. Like they're pick and pull stuff.
Yeah. Well, see, I have this thing where I just don't say no. Like
I got you. I got you.
Like, if
sometimes you got to refund that.
Like, yeah. Well, I'll figure it out. Like,
yeah.
You know, that's just what I've done
Good.
My whole life. Like, I'll just say, well, yeah, we can do that. I've never done it before, but we'll figure it out.
All those T-shirts in those bins.
Yeah.
That was Evan and Jody.
Yeah, that's what Evan was talking about. He's like, yeah, those things were a pain in the butt to put together.
That was Evan and Jody, and they're still not organized. They came in, and it's great. It's better than it was. Nobody's ever going to unfuck that old shit. I'm like, pull all of this shit and just fucking put it in the dumpster. Yeah. Start fucking fresh.
Yeah. Well, you got a guy here that makes your shirts, don't you? Do y'all fulfill all your shirt orders?
Yeah, we handle anything branded SOE. We take possession of. Nobody ships anything SOE other than us, other than dump box.
Have you ever thought about doing a subscription shirt?
Yeah, 400 people have said that. We had this conversation about 12 hours ago. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if you ever need a fulfillment person,
yeah,
do that every month for you. Yeah, we've got a great shop to do. I mean, I've had shirts. I worked with them for probably 8 years, and I have shirts that are 6 years old. The shirt's falling apart, but the screen printing still on it.
Have you worn any of our shirts?
I have, yeah, and they do great. I haven't had any that long.
Not as good though.
Yeah. I don't say that. No, they hold up good.
So our guy, we fed him so much work, he moved from Texas to here.
Really? That's awesome. How many shirts do you order a month from the guy?
We do 120 every week.
120 every week.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
We could do more, but I mean 120 because the urgency is the big thing, right? If I can sell 100, we're only making 75.
Yeah,
and we jump around, right? Chest rigs, backpacks, so. There's always urgency. The client, the existing customer knows if they want this, they better get it now, and then that builds a lot of talk around it. Right. How come your website's always sold out? Well, it's not. It was just important to somebody else more than it was to you. Yeah. And we have a secret menu even, just like, hamburger places, like going to In-N-Out.
Yeah.
There's a menu. You just have to know how to fucking order it. And if you're around, you catch all those things. It's the mystique of it.
Yeah. So like with what we're doing with Cody, like he had to have a 100% cotton shirt. Had to be made in America. He didn't want it made in a sweatshop. He didn't really care where it was made, but couldn't be made in a sweatshop. It had to be made so we chose an American-made shirt, and that it's just awesome. It took months of just trying to figure out what shirt to get.
So is that a $40 shirt?
It's gonna be $40
retail.
Yeah.
So when we were doing our shirts for 15, and then Magpul came out and they had theirs at 22.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna make mine 25. So we did them at 25. We haven't raised the price in forever.
You should.
Yeah, we have to.
You need to.
We have to.
You're not making enough. I mean, that's not enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of our materials have doubled in the last 24 months.
So what we're doing with the pre-order stuff is that's how we're able to fulfill it right now, is because at least we'll know on this first run it's going to give us a really good trial run with that.
But you still have to order but you're going to use the same blank because you're still ordering size cases.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we've got relationships actually with the shirt company.
What brand? You're using U.S. made shirts?
Yeah.
What brand?
Bayside.
Bayside.
Yep. Their hoodies are actually made in North Carolina.
Nice.
I think it's a California-based company.
Who's the company making the multicam black-looking hoodies? I can't remember the name of them. It's a huge company.
Yeah.
We've done those a few times. So I've been happy with the blanks we use.
I'd love to use some of these.
Is that Carhartt?
This is no. This is American Giant.
Okay.
I don't wear Carhartt.
Okay. We don't either. I mean,
but these things. I mean, they're $130 for a hoodie. But man, it's awesome.
I don't know what brand. We're not using U.S. blanks. But
you should. I mean, there's 100% cotton shirts. It's not for everybody. Like, there's some great shirts that are made overseas.
We use the athletic cut. We do an expeditionary hoodie.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass. Has the zip off. It's more of a jacket than a hoodie, and they blow out pretty fast when we do them. I'm very lacking. Like I'm leaving lots of money on the ground.
You are
not doing simple merchandise.
Yeah. You don't do hats or anything, do you?
We not enough. I mean we put out a new design every week. It's very rare that we rerun it.
But hats are like the easiest thing in the world to.
Hats don't sell for us well.
Really?
When I'll do 48 pieces, and I don't blow them out the first day. Like they sit here for weeks and months to run. I do better with coffee cups than hats.
Really?
We do coffee cups, we do beanies, we do hats, sticker patch. Yeah. Dude, I'm
your patches. So
but we're like I should have sticker patch for every week. But when the shirts come in, I want to sell them. I don't want to sit on them. Well, I'm so excited to put them out when really it's stupid because I should put them out with all of them at the same time.
You should do a subscription.
Yeah.
You just automatically know. Like you sign up, choose your shirt size, boom, it's automatic.
Yep.
And that way, I mean, you don't have waste.
Your highest profit margins, patches, stickers.
Oh yeah, I love patches. We've got 3 designs already for Cody.
You have a local guy there doing them, or
we got it. Actually, the only patch company that I've been able to find that's U.S. based.
Dude, we've never, even the ones that say they still come with China tape.
So PVC patches you can't get made in America.
I don't think
Evan said he found somebody, but
there's a company doing them. They do medical devices and shit.
Really?
Yeah, they send you a right before SHOT Show. I cannot remember for the life of me the name of the company. I'll find it. But
there's a company on this side of Asheville that they make all the NASA patches. They're all made in there.
You can go see it?
Yeah, you can go see it. Now, they have a Mexico plant and a China plant as well, but I think that's where they're doing their PVC stuff. But I have yet to be able to work with them. They have been a pain in the rear.
I want to say I have Flow Fit or something like that in my head. They do a ton of SHOT Show merchandise, but they're U.S.
So I got this weekend that big skull patch that you do, which I've been wanting forever.
Yeah.
That
offshore.
Man, but it's great quality.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Dude,
I'm not against offshore stuff.
So I talked to Wu. Okay, well, I'll just put it out. Like the patches, we've used everyone. Mm-hmm. Like we tried to use Rocky Mountain. They came to us and it just didn't work out. Yep. The quality looks nice. Mm-hmm. We've had kids hit us up like, hey, US made patches, and they sometimes you get them, sometimes you. They can't keep up with what we're doing. There's a US patch company that we ordered from. I can't remember the name of them. But every time you get it, it's got the yellow China tape on it. Yeah. All they're doing is fucking sourcing it and drop shipping it. So I send an email at 11 o'clock at night. I hear back from them 1, 2 in the morning. I answer them at 5. They have sent me a sew out for proof. Like they've already embroidered the thing that did not exist. I'm like, good to go. 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, these 4 colors. And they send me an invoice. I pay the invoice. Dude, I've had stuff show up here in 9 days.
Really?
DHL. And then stickers, I use a sticker company, and sometimes it comes from all over. Sometimes it's U.S. Dude, I've had packages. I've ordered from the sticker company. Patches have come from Sweden for some reason, and I've had them in 4 days from ordering, and they come in DHL.
That's incredible.
Dude, I can't get a dude that I look at in the face to do anything.
No. And so, like, I want to use that company in North Carolina because I'd love to support another North Carolina company.
It's a good story, man.
But good God, you got to call me back. Yeah. You got to communicate, and it's just so.
Bear's got a merch company that he really likes. I can't remember the name. She was wearing one of their shirts. That the lady that was outside earlier. But I think they're small.
Yeah, but the people there that we've got right next to us, they can do embroidered leather patches on hats and the whole 9 yards right there.
If you ever need a leather guy like that, like Jeff put a guy through sniper school, Roscoe, and he actually moved out here. All of Jeff's snipers, all those dudes live right over here in Waverly, and he has a company doing that
Really?
stuff.
Like leather patches
If you
and
need a
stuff?
backup guy, yeah, he
Oh,
does.
that's cool.
He does all of them for all of the aviation units. He does everything
yeah.
on
I
camp,
definitely
all the
wanna-
Marine Corps stuff,
I love cool stuff like
right
that.
out of Waverly, Tennessee.
Because in my mind, like half of the story, because I'm always like after the story of something. Like if you can have a story about something, good gosh, I mean that's all you need.
Target Indicators is
Yeah.
the name of his company.
Target indicators, okay. But if you can have like a story behind it, like if we could go up and film the patches being made, and like that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it, and it just gives it more validity. It gives it.
You're
more,
right. I'm
and-
like, you see a lot of companies touting "Made in America," right?
Yeah.
And that's something to be proud of.
Yeah.
I'm always baffled when you look at their social media and
Yeah.
you see no equipment.
Yeah.
Like we turn a live on and walk
Yeah.
through, and you'll see people. You see the machines running. I do a live. You hear how loud it really is in the building. But it's always weird when you look at these companies and they don't show any manufacturing.
because they're not making it.
I believe that.
You know how many knife companies are that way?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
and that's some of the ones.
so I don't know about. I know how the knife business works,
Yeah.
right? And I tell people, I'm like, you got to get shot up to get in the rap game.
Yeah.
And you have to build your name before anybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
And like knife companies, here's the knife business. Because you don't have any money, you have to get really dirty. So we're going to take a stock of steel. We're going to cut as much as we can off with a chop saw. We're going to profile the blade on a belt, and then we're going to sharpen it, put a handle on it, maybe bead blast it, whatever the coating is. But once you have that name, we're not touching metal anymore. We're taking it to the machine up the road, which eats itself on the water jet. We're going to bring back 120 blanks, and all you do is sharpen, but that's not even you.
Yeah.
Your employee is sharpening it, and you're tying a handle, and now you don't do none of that shit anymore.
But then there's a whole nother side of it that they're just assembly companies. Like I love stock removal knives. I mean, I have nothing against water jet machinery and efficiency. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, Marissa, I have all Marissa's first knives, right?
Yeah.
I have the first Damascus, like those, like,
I know I saw it.
and I only know this because of Strider, right?
Yeah.
They're still involved in the company. They're still in the same building, but there's a fucking power hammer in there.
Yeah.
Like they're building, instead of building $500 knives, they're building $15,000 knives.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like there's different scales in that industry. I mean, if you're paying, $300 for a knife, for a fixed blade, I mean, that guy's not making that much money. Like even doing water jet blanks, everything like that, there's still a lot of work that goes into it. You still have to make the handles, and I mean, it's a lot of work. But, and honestly, water jet's probably better. That's almost.
It's consistent.
It's consistent, and you're not changing the
Temperature.
of the blade. But it's like Jason. I been up there filming his son Tristan. He took a piece of steel, and in 15 minutes that kid had hammered out. You could start seeing it's like watching a baker spread dough. Like you could watch that steel just start morphing into this blade, this big old long sword blade. This is unbelievable. That's another thing. Like that's not a $300 knife. That's a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 knife. I love it. I just love it. It's like seeing that whole process.
Bastinelli.
Oh yeah.
I have the Lucy knives.
Really? I love his Instagram.
Yeah.
I love watching him.
I met him because he was at the booth. He's at Tony's booth all the time. That's how we met him.
He does some stuff with Micro? Don't they do some joint stuff? Yeah.
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 He's got another kid in there that he's put on that's like does some crazy shit,
Yeah.
like some big cleaver looking things.
Those Bastinellis are probably some of the sharpest knives I've ever seen. They're incredible. Like I love his Instagram videos where he's like slicing these big truck straps and stuff. Just going. I love it. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on. And a lot of people are worried about saturation of the market and stuff. Shoot, man.
Be better.
Just
Do
better.
Build a better product or market your shit better.
But I don't have any. It's almost easier to sell. There's different brackets of price points. That, like $100 to $500, easy sell. $500 to $1,000, a little weird price thing there. $1,000 plus, easy to sell.
You know who Jim Bonus is? Marketing guy. Okay, so he's a marketing dude for Coca-Cola. And Jim Bonus did all the marketing for Blackhawk,
Okay.
Otis cleaning kits, and Surefire flashlights back in the early 90s. That's why they all looked the same.
Yeah.
So I think it was Bonus that did this, but Mission came out with the Timberland Spec War, and then there's the Mission MPK, right? And everything was titanium. Titanium's a fucking terrible knife metal.
Yeah.
You could literally cut through a dead duck, and the serrations would be, they called them scuba ducks, and they'd be bent, right? But low magnetic signature. All the EOD guys had to have this. So Mission had this MPK, and it was injection molded. Originally, it was like G10, like the Strider handles, so that it's all in case, and you don't get any electricity through the handle. Right. So they had this knife, and they were putting it out at like $200, which is a super weird fucking knife price. Yeah. And they had this whole marketing company. They spent like fucking $1.5 million back then, and they did all this market research, and they brought everything back, and they said you have to lower the price of the knife to $99.95, or you have to raise the price of the knife to $399.95. They literally, and they raised the price over $395. It was like $405 or something, and they fucking sold in the next 90 days. They sold more than the last 18 months.
Perceived value.
Yeah, I say it all the time. Perception of value. I can take a dog collar from Walmart. I can bedazzle it with some Swarovski crystals, and I can sell it on Rodeo Avenue for fucking $200. But you can't sell to poor people.
Yeah, you're right. It is, and it's like going back to like seeing where something's made. Like you walk in here, all the crap you're making is just like it's made right there. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem ordering a $400 or $500 bag from you because it's awesome. Like the story behind it, your personality.
You're not just buying the bag.
You're not buying the bag.
You're buying admission.
Exactly. But you feel good about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've got bags. My poor day pack, man. I took it on when I went out. I hung out with Cody.
On the motorcycle
motorcycles, trip? Yeah. That poor thing looked like you had drug it behind a bus for 10 miles. Held up, I've dropped it, drug it, it hangs up, it holds up. And so go buy anything else. The people that buy once, cry once, that's the customers.
Yeah, it's always cheaper to buy. It costs more to buy inexpensive shit.
It does.
If you actually use it. Yeah. But a lot of those people doing it, it's just instant gratification, the Amazon buyers. I mean, you can see it all through my shop. There's tons of shit that's not even out of the box. Right. I have Amazon packages in there. I don't even know what's in the boxes. Because I just impulsively, it'll all be used.
This is the most eclectic. I've been taking like random pictures of animals and sending them to my wife. And she's like, what in the world? Because she doesn't know anything about, And so she's like, what is going on? Yeah. Where are you at? Yeah. It's funny. This is like a museum.
It is. I started calling it a museum jokingly, but
it is a museum. I mean, it's incredible.
I need a curator.
You got more giraffes than a freaking zoo.
Yeah, I have 7 of them.
Yeah.
Two of them aren't even here right now.
Really? Where do you buy? Are those? Can you buy them here, or is that like a?
Oh yeah. No, not just anybody can buy them.
Yeah.
You have to have a credit card. I'm fucking with you. Oh. We were standing out at the range with National Geographic, and they're about to shoot this car filled with tannerite, and the parts fly off of it. And when it flew off, he's like, "Hey, you need to move this film crew back." And then he comes back. He's like, "Hey, no, you need to move them way back." And where they were standing is where the hood of the car landed. And they're like, "Can just anybody buy those explosives?" He's like, "Oh no, you have to have a credit card. You just have to know where to buy them. It's just you look up oddities, look up taxidermy. Yeah. There's a whole. Do you need to go? Are you leaving? There's a whole story behind it. So, rural route 66, 69, all this. This used to be the way. Yeah. And there was a small town. Every town had a court square, and that was the vitalization of the town, the influx of money. And when the interstates came through, it really killed small town America. You can see it all through Appalachia, right? So these towns sat and eventually dwindled and died. Some people stayed. I mean, you have whole coal towns. You can buy a whole coal town. It comes with like 5 people still there, the mercantile stores and shit. And they just sat. So now people are trying to stand these towns back up and make a go of it and clean them back up and reuse, because they want that history, right? We miss that heritage. And they get these buildings, and grandpa had passed away or whatever. And the new kids that are getting these properties, or the people buying them, have no emotional attachment. Yep. And grandpa has all this shit sitting in here. So the first thing they do is bring in dumpsters or liquidate the contents. And a lot of that stuff's there. Like that used to be when a man made money and he was bored at home. He would go hunt Africa, hunt, Alaska, and adventure, right? And now there is no story. There's no history. His story, it's not passed on. They have no emotional attachment. So it goes to a few specific places. There's a big auction house in Oklahoma, and there's a big one in Texas that does big taxidermy. And we did a breakfast video, and I would cook eggs in the old apartment shop. It was literally an old apartment. In the middle, and I'd cook eggs for all the employees, and we would just sit, and me and Lance and a couple dudes, Pablo, and we would just talk shit and video it. Yeah. And then thousands of people would comment on these videos. So we'd take the videos, we'd print some of the comments, and that'd be tomorrow's video. And it was just perpetual.
Yeah.
And somebody sent me a customer sent me a Gaboon Viper skull.
Oh, that's cool.
And I thought, man, this is really neat. And then somebody sent me another skull, and my wife bought me a beaver skull for my birthday. And I'm like, I wonder if I could have a human skull. And you could buy them off Amazon and eBay back then. And I just started showing weird stuff. I was just very interested in it. Like the coolest thing about Harry Potter was like Dumbledore's office and Mr. Megorium's Emporium when they went to the uncle's house and he had the atrium and the three-eyed toad. I love Da Vinci.
Yeah.
So somebody, I think it was Aaron Little, was like, hey, you know what you're doing is you're collecting curiosities.
Yeah.
It's a cabinet of curiosities. And I never heard of it. So I type it into Facebook, and here's these groups. So I just went crazy, just buying stuff. But it's all like junk.
Yeah.
And people noticed me buying a lot of stuff, and somebody hit me up, was like, hey, there's another group I'm going to invite you into, and it's a higher end, much higher end, like real stuff. Yeah. And some of it's like, how did this get out of a museum? You know, this like is actually an artifact.
Yeah.
But I started replacing the fake things with real things. And now it has a story, whether it's a historic or heritage. Like I have a story. This is where this came from. This is the conversation. This was the trip. And I have a Facebook page and a couple of other social medias. It's just me and Amanda and Cody, just so the kids know where this shit came from, what it is. Don't throw it in the fucking dumpster. It's worth this much money. And we just document it, man.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling Evan, I was like, there's giraffes that probably make John more money.
They do.
People comment every single.
So I bought the first front from Cobble Taxidermy, and Blake is cool. I love Blake and his wife. Super cool. We bought it, the first giraffe neck, and I think it was like $1,600 maybe. Maybe it was 20. I think it was $2,600. And we were going to the Nashville to the new fairgrounds. It was the first time they'd had an Oddities. The Oddities tour festival thing had just started. And we walked in the building, you could see across the whole audience and everything, and you could see that giraffe. I go, there's the giraffe. And we got back there, and I couldn't get near my giraffe. There was 60, 70, 80 people around there. And there was a dude in a dress, like all walks of life.
Yeah.
And everybody was smiling about this giraffe, and they're taking pictures. So we just walked, we were ready to go at this point. By the time we were ready to go, we just kept walking around because there was always people taking pictures. And we loaded it up, brought it back, and that's the number one conversation thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like we were still doing Blade Show at the time. I'm like, I'm going to put some saddlebags on this thing, take it, put it in the booth, and just use it for video and stuff. But man, why do you have giraffes? That's why I have them.
Yeah.
Like
cool.
every kid comes in there. Like, because we have big events here. You'll have 1,000 people here, and there'll be 200-300 people that have no idea who I am or what we do. But at some point, you're going to be on the property, and there's going to be something that we have in common, razors or equipment or giraffes or whatever, right? And you're going to walk out of here, and you're going to tell somebody a story, probably multiple stories that are going to be about here or about something that I did.
Yeah.
And it'll come back around full circle.
Sure.
And Amanda, like when we bought this building, it was an abandoned building. And we would come over here just out of excitement every day when the contractors were leaving. It was never checking to see what the contractors did. It was trying to find the thing. It was like an Easter egg hunt.
Yeah.
What is new? And we'd make those videos. And man, the rate on those videos is enormous when people, and they interacted. They're like, hey, you should use this Syndex. Hey, you should do a Starfire glass window instead of a normal glass window. Hey, you should do a spiral staircase, fireman pole, bubble tubes. I'm like, all of it sounds great. Let's do all of it. Zip line. And I said the other day, I'm like, I want a really big factory, like wartime, Cold War mercantile. They gave him for $1. He bought an old Oshkosh plant that the city had just been having all kinds of problems, like homeless people in there and shit. It's a huge facility, and it was like 60,000 feet big. And this is 10,000 here, the footprint, 16. And I'd said, I'm like, I'm just kind of bored. She's like, it's the wonderment. You missed the wonderment of it. And we found a building that's 150,000 square feet, about 3 hours from here. It's got its own train line, and it was a wood mill originally, and they made all the wooden hammer handles for Craftsman and Sears.
Yeah.
But it's 150,000 feet just under the roof, and there's a ton of buildings in there, man. Like,
really?
I don't know what I would even do with it, but it would be cool. And
You
I'm
gonna move
curious. Am I going to move? I don't know. I don't even know that I haven't even went and looked at it. Like, we've had the conversation. Brandle's talked to the dude. I haven't executed on it, but I'm curious. Would it make enough money out of the wonderment and just the people being interested in it? Would it pay for itself? I don't know. This one did.
Yeah. That would be cool.
You can-
It's its own rail line. You get your own train.
It has train cars on the property.
Really?
Yeah.
Then you should get your own train.
Right. I'm with you. Oh, absolutely. We'd put a coffee shop in one of those train cars.
There's up in North Carolina, there's like these little train lines you can go ride.
Yeah,
the old train.
light gauge rail.
Yeah. The and they sold, last time we were up there, they had just sold one of their trains. They have like a whole big train facility. They had sold one of their trains to Whistling Diesel, and he like blew it up or something.
That's cool.
Or ran two and
he's pretty close here. He's down here.
Really? That's cool. Man, that's the first time I've been out here. It was really neat.
North Carolina is beautiful, man. We went up by the Biltmore and stuff. We went up for Overland Expo when they were doing it there. Yeah, it's very pretty. You hate what?
I hate Asheville.
It's pretty.
Part of it is.
There's plenty of food there.
Yeah, there's plenty of food. It's like California.
I'm with you. That's why we're not going to North Carolina.
Golly dang. But, man, you go north of Asheville or south of Asheville.
It's too fucking expensive.
Man, it's beautiful. It's just unbelievable.
We have $1,000 an acre land out here.
Yeah, we used to have that.
Yeah, we're heading. I know.
Yeah, you better buy all you can.
You're right.
Because I think that's all you're going to have.
How much property you need? Yeah, Biltmore said when I could ride 24 hours on horseback, I knew I had enough property.
Yeah, that's true.
The Vanderbilts.
That place is odd, though. I bet you like it, though.
I've never been there.
You never been?
There's basements under basements. There's tunnel systems. There's a lot of weird shit. Look up, if you want to go down those rabbit holes.
I've been down all of them.
Yeah.
Like, those people were pretty despicable.
Yeah, do you really think that a riverboat pilot just fucking built that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty odd.
Awesome,
well,
man.
Dude, thanks for doing this.
Dude, thanks for the time.
I really appreciate it. This was a blast.
Well, thanks for coming. How do they find what's your websites? What's your socials?
RidgeRunnerBlades.com. Everywhere.
RidgeRunnerBlades.com. Everywhere. Because you should have the same shit everywhere.
Everywhere. Yep. I'm glad I got to help start this company because I set all that up.
I tell them all the time, I'm like, get the exact same thing everywhere. Whether you're going to use it. Don't say it again until you go get it.
Yeah. You shouldn't have to spell anything.
It should say what
Ridge
you do.
Runner Blades.
Yeah.
They you can come see my dog. My dog's on there a lot. So.
What's your dog?
Scout. He's a blue heeler.
Cool. Did he bite a lot of people?
No, man. He's
man,
cool.
you put a blue heeler in a truck, someone's getting bit.
No, not mine.
All right.
Well, kind of one of them.
Yeah, see?
we got 4 healers.
Put them in your truck, walk away at Walmart, someone's getting bit.
I wouldn't reach in my truck.
Yeah. Even in the bed of the truck, someone's getting bit.
Yeah, I can leave my wallet sitting on the dash.
We got old dudes around here, they'll have their blue healers in the back on the toolbox.
Yeah, they sit up there.
I don't know how they stay there.
I don't either. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the way it is around the house, all the farms. Yeah, I'll leave blue healers sitting on top. You need you one.
I do not need one.
It could match you though.
It is not in my program.
It could hang with you.
It would run these animals to death.
No, not if you train it right. I do great. We have tons of sheep and chickens and everything else. They don't bother anything.
We got big dogs, man. They do.
Yeah, you have those Pyrenees.
Pyrenees, yeah.
They're cool.
Pyrenees and Kangles.
I love how you did the fence here. I would love to do that at my property.
So we use fences to keep dogs in. We use dogs to keep predators out. And the fencing is a circle within a circle.
Yeah.
So the dogs, there's an outer layer of dogs, and then we have other dogs that we can put on the inner layer. If you get to this door, you've been through 3 fences and you've been through 2 sets of dogs. You're not asking for gasoline at this point.
Yeah.
So
I'll be asking for a new leg.
We're not going to have a conversation. Yeah.
So love it though.
Thanks,
love your
man.
place. Love your. I mean, you're just killing it out here.
We're going to do a party in July.
Heck yeah.
I suspect we'll have a lot of people show up.
Yeah.
We don't
You used
charge.
to do this a lot, didn't you?
We did. Yeah, you just show up. If you're a friendly company, you just show up. We don't charge anybody anything, and it's a pretty big event. So
that's awesome. You used to do those back before COVID. Was it back before COVID? You did?
Yeah, during COVID, I just quietly said, "Hey, we're gonna have a get together," and like 200 people showed up. And I'm like, "Hey, man, there's like normally we have Ackley's brings machine guns in.
Yeah,
we've got tattoos. We usually blast about 50 tattoos while during the party. Big huge like fireworks and the whole deal." tons of entertainment and shit. And I said, guys, I don't have any of that shit. I really feel bad. They're like, we just want to see the rabbits. We want to see the aquaponics. We want to see the garden. We want to see the greenhouse. And I just ran around giving tours of the place.
That's awesome.
And Nicole was here doing coffee. She's like, what do you think? I go, I don't know. There seems to be something to this. Maybe we should do something like Jack Spirko does at his place. Yeah. And she said, how involved do you want to be? I said, well, I want you to do all of it, and I'll just take the credit for it. And that's SRF. We just did the 7th one this last week.
So this was number 7. I'll tell you what, it was a very eclectic group of people.
For real, yeah, very much so.
Eclectic.
It's there is.
Yeah.
You have people from all walks of life there.
Yep. I've done a bunch of the prepper camps and stuff over the years with Ridge Runner.
Yeah.
And,
so we're tied in the, I don't know what, something tour, homestead tour.
Yeah.
But that's Spags, right?
Yeah.
Spags, EMP Shield guys, Tag, Life Done Free. And that and Kentucky Sustainable Living and us is the trilogy there.
Yeah. That's cool. And you had Joel Salatin last year, Angry American this year.
Angry American, he'll be in here this afternoon doing an interview. Joel Salatin was incredible. Yeah. I got to sit down and just ask him. I'm able to get these guys in the chair and have the conversation. Like everybody, I knew all the other stuff because all the interviews are the same. I wanted to know how he was selecting his interns and stuff. Yeah. And we got to have, and then I sat for 4 hours upstairs and we just talked antiques and stuff. He was telling me about when he went to France and through Europe and just the crazy shit that's over there.
That's cool. He seems to be a really neat guy. I followed a lot of his, all his videos. That's
very real.
Very real guy. And his reputation is just impeccable.
Joel is exactly what you get.
Yeah.
Like Bear is exactly what you get. And
what was he like?
Bear?
Yeah.
Exactly like his videos.
Really?
Well, there was a tornado about 90 minutes into Kentucky here, and that was an opportunity for us. We drove up to see and just watch and see what was going on, and he was exactly that way. Yeah. And he's been here many times. I've got hours and hours of content with Bear. We talk back anytime. I can talk to him every day. Yeah. And it was important because we watch so many people on social media, and when you meet them, they're not that. Right, you had like the homestead stuff, and then you actually see it, and it's a fucking feedlot. Yeah. You see a sliver of the life. We don't edit out stuff, and we're to the point right now we have to because we have 80 hours of footage. Exactly. But we don't change the story. We don't cut anything out. It's like I used to run around for weeks worrying about people coming here cleaning up. I'm like, why? Like let's just see let them see what it really is. Right. So when you see those videos, that's how it really is. Like it looks like a fucking bomb or Roundup went out because we do SRF at the worst possible times. Still looks pretty fucking good though.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
There's still a lot of life. We're just if we'd have done it 2 weeks later, everything would be in bloom and alive, and so it's just important to just be authentic.
Yeah, and that's with Bear, he seems to be. I know people that know him personally as well, but it's just refreshing to see somebody that's genuine.
Yeah,
in that space, I'm a Christian and he is too, but there's so many like bad representations a lot of times of that. People are fake, and it comes.
Man, our conversation always turns to that when we say it's never intentional.
Yeah. His stories are unbelievable.
But he's like, just follow the Torah. I'm like, okay, what's the Torah? He's like, well, if you have a roof where you have your neighbors have a railing around your roof, that's literally one of the rules in the Torah, right? Makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I don't think I've ever read the Torah, but it's just refreshing. Like I'm not like there. I think there's something in Christianity for everybody like that, and he's found this whole the whole thing, and I don't think he's wrong.
It's Hebrew.
It's the original Hebrew stuff, and it's really interesting though. I love hearing. I watch his Bible studies and stuff.
That's the only one. That's the only way I'm moving that direction, and it's only because of him.
Yeah, but he just seems to be a really genuine guy, and it's refreshing. But yeah, I hope to. He was like 45 minutes from my house at an event last year, and I couldn't go. I had another event to go to.
Got it.
So I couldn't go up there, but I don't know if he'll be back this year, but I'll be up there.
How far isn't Polyface, and where's Polyface?
Polyface, that's Virginia.
It is Virginia.
Yeah. So there was an event called Mountain Readiness over in North Carolina that he came to and spoke. You should have him here.
Bear?
Yeah, to speak at SRF.
We've had him here a dozen times.
Oh, SRF?
Yeah, he's been. He'll
cool.
be here in October. He couldn't make this time.
Yeah.
We haven't had him here a dozen times, but he's spoke on stage 4 or 5 times.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
I've got 4 or 5 podcasts with him probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. I've watched the podcast.
He's been here more than I've been to his place.
Yeah.
I've not been to his place.
That would be a miracle.
Yeah. We've been invited many times.
You know, I had a bad motorcycle wreck about a year and a half ago, and I had just done medical training 2 weeks before, and I had his bear fac with me.
You told me that.
And that was, I mean, it was pretty rough, but man, I had everything there. There was a nurse that I actually hit. She was in a bus that I hit, and she jumped out. She had the IFAC and everything there. Super awesome.
She had your IFAC?
Yeah. Yeah, I had it on my bike with me.
She had no tourniquet with her?
She had nothing.
Good thing you did, huh?
I had everything. And but yeah, I love his medical stuff. It's
Have you told him
legit.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On his live streams and stuff, I've commented and told him. Because I was laid up for like 6 months, and that's kind of when I got introduced to Cody and stuff, because, you know, not all bad things turn out to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like, maybe. I mean, yeah, it sucks, my foot, but
You're walking around, you're not
hey,
fucking...
I still have a foot.
Yeah, you're not walking around
and
telling
so-
me what you can't do.
Yeah, and so they, you know, I met a lot of good things happen through that whole thing, and so I'm not sure bad things are really bad like that. So, anywho, I was watching a ton of. I was just after things because I couldn't get out of the bed, so I was just looking for things. You know, I'd be up half the night. I was high on oxy and everything else.
Right.
And so I watched a ton of Bears content during that time, and then, you know, I've been following Cody for years, but, you know, he was doing the live streams and stuff. So it was really a good time.
Yeah, I wish he'd bring those live streams back.
I do too. Man, he loves his SOE stuff.
You just got more of him, you know?
Yeah, you do.
Had more
But I think he
access.
tried to do too much of it. Like, he was doing it every day, man, and
I do it every day.
Yeah, I don't know that he wants to do that.
I get it.
So, like, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you get that, like, I'm like that. Like, I run a little on the manic side of stuff, you know. I'll just run. And you got to learn how to go through you got to fight through the crash, you know, a little bit.
No, I get it, man. You can
It's like-
see when the energy's different
Yeah.
on a live stream.
Yeah. And so some people, it's just hard, you know. I mean, I think any successful person probably runs a little manic.
Well, be stronger.
You know, you just gotta learn how to fight through that little dip.
It's just
you know?
built in my day at 9 o'clock. From 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock, I'm going to do a live feed. And if the conversation's good, we're going to go up to 11.
Yeah. Every night.
That's why people show up.
Yep. Man, what happened like a little bit ago? Your audience just went boom. Like,
It's right when we hit 100,000. So I
see.
think the reach, and it was at
Yeah.
the same time with vertical integration. And we just don't have a lot of super viral shorts right now. When we have super viral shorts, like we've got shorts on TikTok, for instance, you've got 10 million views on some of them. So people interact with those, and because they interact when they happen to be in shorts and we're live, it pushes it in there.
Yep.
So that's where it was coming from. I think it's smoothed out because we were doing 128,000. I saw 180,000 on them on longer. And if I go longer, like the iPad will run for 90 minutes.
Yep.
If I plug the battery pack in, that's when those. It's like they're rewarding. It's like they open your stream up if you go for beyond 2 hours. So we saw 180,000. Now we're kind of smoothed out. When I get off, I see between 10 and 15,000. But like the next morning, it'll be bumped another 10, 15, 20,000.
I've got something I want to tell you. I'll tell you off the
Okay.
podcast, but I think I've got a little idea for you.
Cool.
Of how to do
Work
that.
it. Good.
And you don't have to be so organized. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like your personality, like the minute somebody tries to put you in this like box, do this, you're not going to do, like, it's going to come through.
I think I have a problem with memory, right?
Yeah. But I've got a way. So one of my clients he's a lot like you. He's a inventor. He's like run nonstop by the seat of his pants, just flying. So I've got a little trick for you.
Awesome.
I think
Like people are always like, when are you going to write your book? I don't remember my book.
yeah.
I have to sit with Jeff
Yeah.
when we tell the story. He says something, then I run in another direction for a couple hours, but it all ties into the story. And then when you involve somebody else, Lance, that's another 20 hours of footage we never would have had, even though we were all three there.
Yeah. You need to have somebody write it for you.
That's what I say all the
that's-
time. Yeah,
yeah,
my
just write
story's
for you.
coming out when somebody writes it.
Yeah. Somebody will write it.
And I have to be able to be elbow close with you. It's more important that I don't dislike you than that I do like
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's those riders are amazing. There's so many good riders that'll come in and do that for you. And that would be
They have
you
to
don't
want
want to
to
do that.
I'm not shopping them. They have to want to do it enough to come here.
Yeah, show up. What would you tell the guy yesterday? Show up on Monday.
He did show up on Monday.
He did. That's awesome. Yesterday, man, that was awesome. I love all the panel stuff y'all do here. That's pretty cool.
Awesome, man.
Well, man, it's about time for me to hit the road. I'm gonna go back to North Carolina, see
Well,
my dog, see my wife.
Thanks for coming out,
Dude.
Thanks for sitting
Thanks,
down.
dude. Appreciate it, man.
You got music for your podcast?
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Do you have your music? You have music for yours?
No, I'm not. I just edited it in.
That's lyric.